So I don't know what September was about. It felt like there was lots going on, but I'm about to take you on an astrological journey into the week ahead, starting from Monday, the 30th of September, the last day in September, right the way through to the 6th of October. That's on the Sunday. Now, as ever with these weekly forecasts, I'm looking at the most prevalent patterns. So I do include the moon, and obviously the biggest moon pattern this week is the Annular Solar Eclipse on Wednesday, the 2nd of October. This is a big one. It's going to tide us over until the next eclipse in March of 2025. So I'm hoping that the promise of this eclipse is going to bode well for us. It's in the sign of Libra, which is very much about democracy and getting the balance right. So I will be talking about that. There are some other underlying patterns that are really emerging in this week ahead, including a grand trine, with Saturn really holding a stabilizing pattern, which I think will be very useful for us all. But anyway, I'll talk about that as we come to it. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Louisa Tanner Munson. This is Feel Good Astrology. My whole premise here is that let's use astrology in a way to create more freedom, a sense of clarity, a sense of hope and optimism. I think if we can't use astrology to help ourselves, then what's the point? Why use it if it's not going to help you feel good? So that's my whole premise here. If you are, if you've been here before, then welcome back and thanks for joining me once again. Let's see where the energies this week take us. So just going to start by just saying thank you to all of the supporters, who have really helped by giving me a little bit of a donation. That's really, really kind of you. And also to the supporters that I get who are supporting in other ways. I really think this is a channel that's going to grow, and I think time, treasure and talent is really, really helpful. So for people who send me little notes with things to watch out for or to look into, little patterns that they see emerging, I really, really love your messages, and your messages of support and stuff. So it all helps. And I see that people are helping each other in the comments and stuff. So, I know there's far many more contributors to this channel than the ones listed here. But for anyone who is contributing, I really, really love you. So thank you so much. Right, let's bring up the highlights. So I want to start first of all with the moon highlights. This is going to take us on a journey from the moon in Virgo right the way through Libra. That's when we've got the annular eclipse, into the sign of Scorpio and into the sign of Sagittarius. That's where we leave the moon at the end of this week. So it's starting in a mutable sign and ending in a mutable sign. I don't know where your moon is. Maybe you know where your moon is. I'm guessing you do if you're watching this channel. But it's always interesting to consider what these particular moon placements might mean in your particular chart. If your moon is represented by one of these, you're likely to feel that this week in particular is stronger than the usual week for you, because in my own experience, I know when I get my lunar return, i.e. the time when the moon returns to where it was at the time of my birth. It is also like a new lunar start for you as well. It's a reset point. So I just think it's a lot more sensitive. There's a lot more things going on. There are patterns within patterns. It's like you're getting back into your rhythm. Now, as we start this week, we are in a waning phase, the waning crescent phase. It's getting teeny tiny. Then we've got the exact annular solar eclipse, which is a new moon on the 2nd. And then we start a waxing crescent phase where the moon begins to increase. And it's slowly. And then by the end of the week, the moon is starting to gain its weight again. And so as I go through the forecasts in today's session, I should say, right at the end of this video, the first part is all about the overall patterns and how they're affecting everyone. And then the last part of this, as usual, I'll be doing a breakdown on a sign-by-sign basis. These can be used no matter, whether you're using it for your moon, your sun, or your ascendant. I even had somebody ask me about the potential of using it in terms of their Venus sign. And so they were looking at that particular horoscope, that zodiac sign, from the perspective of a love forecast. So you can use my forecast in different ways. So it's entirely possible. So some of the most notable things we've got in this week ahead. And so Monday appears to me to be, one of the busier days. So we've got Mercury in an opposition to the North Node. What this means is Mercury will be in a conjunction with the South Node. So there's a sense of fatedness in the way we're communicating on a sort of wholesale basis, all of us collectively. And our thoughts are going back to our past patterns. We've also got Mars exactly in the trine to Saturn. It's been building for just over a week, and it's coming into a point of stabilization. It's a good feeling, this trine between Mars and Saturn is giving us a lot of discipline, physical discipline, and the ability to be measured in our actions, which I think is really helpful. The other sort of notable thing is Mercury goes into Cazimi at 8 degrees in the sign of Libra. I can't remember if this is the last one or not. I think there are 6 this year because I recorded one massive video, I think in February of 2024, with all the Cazimis for this year ahead. So, if you are interested in that, it's worth having a look. Given that the Mercury Cazimi is at 8 degrees in the sign of Libra, and that on Wednesday the 2nd, we've got the annular solar eclipse at 10 degrees in the sign of Libra. If you've got something in your chart between, say, 7 and 11 degrees in the sign of Libra, it's going to get, quite a lot of attention, with Mercury Cazimi and the annular solar eclipse. So, this is something to watch out for. Maybe you've got your sun, your moon. I've got my Pluto right there. You might have your ascendant or another angle. If you know your chart, check it out. Look where this part of your chart is. Which house is it in? I will be covering this in the horoscope forecasts at the end, the zodiac ones, from Aries right the way through to Pisces. But it's a highly sensitive area in the chart. So that was, the highlights from Monday, really. And then on Tuesday, we've got lots of moon connections. So the moon is in a trine to Uranus, in a sextile to Neptune, and in a trine to Pluto. These are all really sort of helpful energies, getting things moving. So we've got a love, that trine with Uranus is quite inventive, and there's a lot of compassion and a feeling that we're moving forwards. So I think the first is actually quite good. And then finally, the moon goes into Libra. Monday the 30th with the opposition, Mercury on the South Node, even though Mars is trine Saturn, the moon also goes into an opposition with Saturn, which I think is likely to create a slight sense of alienation. Maybe we're wanting to connect into our past because we're feeling a little bit isolated. So there's quite some big stirrings on Monday the 30th, which is really, I think, very much in alignment with the way September went in general. So Tuesday feels like a calm day. And one with some opportunities. To me, the energies are positive and helpful. They're there to move you along in a really kind of cool and moderately exciting way. And then on Wednesday the 2nd, there's not much going on astrologically apart from this blooming great big annular solar eclipse. And of course, before that happens, the moon goes into an opposition with the North Node, i.e. the moon is now connected in a conjunction to the South Node. So it's worth considering that we've got Mercury Cazimi, we've got the South Node, we've also got the sun and the moon all in this like tight little band of energy. So this is a strong day. And I think the 2nd is a day to really focus on what you want to bring about. I really see this as a hugely manifestatory kind of influence. It's not there to, if you're focusing on all the things that feel terrible in your life, then I don't think that's going to be very beneficial. But if you are absolutely spending your life examining all the beautiful things that you want to create, and if you're spending your time working towards really positive goals, open goals, things that are going to help you feel more peace and calm and positivity and balance, then I really think this moment in time is going to really help you. Then on to Thursday, the 3rd, we've got a square with Mars. Then we've got the moon in a trine to Jupiter, and then the moon in an opposition to Chiron. So Thursday, the 3rd, I would say is edgy, really edgy. The moon square Mars creates an irritability. I've actually got I've got this natally in my birth chart quite tight as well. And so it does create a residual irritation, and if something is lurking underneath the scenes that you're not owning up and doing something about, it can really snap. So moon square Mars is really quite snappy. The trine with Jupiter does bring in a sense of well-being, but the moon in an opposition to Chiron, I think, is also a time when we might feel isolated and kind of wounded. In particular, like really sad, like I really think it gives a sort of feeling of a victim energy. So in spite of the trine Jupiter, Jupiter in the connection with the moon, I think can really give us a sense that we might be moving towards something. And then, the opposition with Chiron comes in, which can be quite devastating. So yeah, Thursday is edgy, but it's also a mixed bag. I think we might feel something very strongly, then perk up a bit, and then get even a deeper dashing of our emotions. So, how can you stay in equilibrium is my question on Thursday the 3rd. And then as we're going into the 4th, things are, moon in a square to Pluto can bring in some control issues, where you're really not wanting to relinquish something that feels quite important to you. And then when the moon goes into Scorpio, that's really high stakes. I know many Scorpio moon natives. I'm married to one, in fact. And I know that when the moon in Scorpio gets particularly triggered, there's quite a strong resentment that can come up. So, moon square Pluto, there is, Pluto is one of the rulers of Scorpio. So it's almost like we've got this double moon in Scorpio going on, this sort of energy of resentment, this kind of this kind of growing and gnawing irritation, and sense that, I don't know, that maybe we're not quite being attended to, we're not being looked after well enough. And this might go on the back of the opposition to Chiron as well. So, I would say whatever you can clear on the 3rd will be very, very helpful as you're going into the 4th. My grandmother, bless her, I love her so much. She's been gone like over 20 years or so, or even longer than that now. But one of the things she always said to me, and she really meant it, and I've lived most of my life honoring this, but she said, always go to bed, having cleared the air, even if you haven't cleared it very well, always go to bed, with that sense that things have cleared off, because waking up with old business the next day is absolutely torturous. So whatever you can do to clear the air on Thursday, I think would really stand you in good stead. And then, and I say then we've got Venus in a trine to Saturn, but the truth is Venus has already been applying into a trine with Saturn, just like Mars was coming into the trine with Saturn, last week, right the way from the start of this week, Venus has been coming into a trine with Saturn. And, then they're all in this grand trine. So we've got Saturn, Mars and Venus all in water signs, which I think is going to be really helpful. And I will be talking about this shortly. So I see this has been hugely useful. So whatever is going on Friday the 4th, even if it feels like, oh my goodness, can it get any better? I think it really can. We are being taught how to be persistent right now with our emotions and with our actions, and how to be, Yeah, persistent and practical. So don't give up, really don't. Oops. How did I went right the way through there. There's so much to go through. Hang on. So must look out for that. I must have pressed the wrong button. So Saturday the 5th then. This, I think, is, another one of those brilliant days. So Saturday the 5th, the moon trine Saturn. That's also helping the Venus and Mars in the grand square. That's really helpful. The moon making a conjunction to Venus is beautiful and really enforcing. And then the trine to Mars is lovely. So Saturday the 5th is really bringing in that grand trine energy and giving us a beautiful level of support. And then Sunday the 6th, well, we've got some big energies. The big noticeable one, I would say, on the 6th is Mercury in a square to Mars. So it's worth considering if your ruler is it in the sign of Mercury? Is it in the sign of Mars? Is it a Mercury ruled ascendant that you've got, or a sun that you've got? So, if you have got a Gemini or a Virgo theme in your chart, this Mercury square Mars could bring up some tension for you. Similarly, if you've got an Aries or a Scorpio energy in your chart, again, that's going to pick up on the Mars theme. But suffice to say, Mercury square Mars is about our communication and our actions. How well are they aligned? Are we acting before we think? How can we make that work? They're not really firing up at the right speed together. And then the opposition between the moon and Uranus can again make us really spontaneous and act out of character very quickly, especially with the Mercury in a square to Mars. Moon is in a trine to Neptune, which makes us very creative and tuned in, and the sextile to Pluto is helpful. And then we end this week with the moon in Sagittarius, which I think is lightening the load a little bit. It's time for a little bit of fun as we go into the following week on Monday, the 7th of October. So I want to explore and have a little deeper look at this area here. So again, we've got Mercury Cazimi at 8 degrees 14 in the sign of Libra. And then a couple of days later, we've got the annular solar eclipse at 10 degrees 3 in the sign of Libra. And you'll see when you look at it on a chart, this is actually the chart for the annular solar eclipse, not from when Mercury is in the Cazimi, but effectively Mercury moves from this side of the sun and the moon, and he moves to the other side at the time of the annular solar eclipse, and the moon is moving from here and coming to here by the second. So the sun is not really moving too much, just 1 degree a day, and then Mercury and the moon just sort of like come in, but it's really sort of bringing us on a bit of a journey here. I am going to, once I've sort of explored this energy a bit more, I'm going to bring up the Sabian symbols for the degree of 8 degrees Libra, and also the 9th degree of Libra that's taking us on the journey, continuing the journey, and then the Sabian sign or symbol for the 10th. Now, if you've followed my sort of very small journey with Sabian symbols, you might have noticed that I've not interviewed, but have had a lovely sort of astrological chat with Linda Hill. I really, really loved meeting her. She's got a beautiful website, and she offers these Sabian symbols. Essentially, Sabian symbols, there are 360 of them to represent every single degree of the zodiac, right the way from 0 degrees in the sign of Aries, right the way to 29 in the sign of Pisces. And so every angle is represented and has a different meaning. Now, when you use her website, you type in 8 Libra, and of course you can see that, when something reaches 8, it's always going to have a little addition, an extra little bit. It might be 0001, or like the moment we hit it, time doesn't stop still, it doesn't stay at 8. And so if you're looking at 8 degrees Libra, it automatically gets rounded up, and the meaning for 8 Libra of where Mercury is equivalent to 9 Libra in Sabian symbols. So I'm going to be looking at 9, 10, and 11 Libra of the Sabian symbols. And I think they're going to give us a much deeper look at what these degrees might mean to us universally. And of course, if you apply that to your own chart, that should have some extra meaning. So I think that's helpful. Also, if we're considering that we've got this Cazimi, which is when, you know, I'm assuming that everyone that's watching, I'm assuming that you understand what a Cazimi is. And, you know, I don't have loads and loads of time to explain it here because, you know, this is just for the weekly forecast. But effectively, the moment of the Cazimi, I should have the timings. It actually starts coming in. Now, I'm recording this in the London, UK time zone. I'm actually based in Portugal, not far from Lisbon, which is the same time zone. And the London, UK time zone, that's in England, in case you're watching from far away and don't know. But the UK time zone is right in the middle of all the time zone. It's like a midpoint. Now, it's the Cazimi is a time when our mental, our ability to understand ideas just kind of is so much sharper than usual. We're really using our minds in a really, I think, a stunning way. You know, deeper realizations come forwards. It's like our mind, the way we're communicating, the words we use, our ability to move from one concept to another, to deliver something. It's just raised up. You know, it's like it is. The sun is shining right the way through Mercury, and it just looks like Mercury is lit up. Essentially what's happening is as planets get closer and closer to the sun, they get drowned out by the sun's radiance. And so they get kind of ignored. And, you know, leading up to this time, you know, planets don't tend to be that strong. But then as they come into the center of the sun, obviously it's not touching the sun, but, you know, from our vantage point on Earth, it looks like, you know, Mercury is in the heart of the sun. And it appears that the sun is magnifying. It's almost like if you think of the sun as being the king, you know, and anything around the king kind of gets ignored because the focus is on the king. As Mercury comes in, it's almost as if the sun says, or the king says, hey, Mercury, come here, and puts Mercury in center stage. So, you know, on this day, and I'll tell you the times, and you can check them out in your own time zones if you so wish to. But at the moment of the Mercury Cazimi, and just a little bit either side, our thinking, our ability to do something phenomenal is highlighted. So a great time to brainstorm if you're really wanting to create something exceptional, or if you're doing some writing or journaling or something really, really helpful. I think it would be very good for architects and scientists and things like that as well. If you're really looking for a solution and want to kind of be free form in your ideas, I really think it's helpful. So in terms of a UK London time zone, we're going into the Cazimi. It starts at 12:36. That's midday, 12:36 on the 30th of September, and it ends at 05:48 on Tuesday, the 1st of October. So, you know, it's not totally short-lived. You know, it's going on for around about 17 hours, you know, so I think that's beneficial. I will put the exact time in the description field. And in fact, I might translate that time across into a few different time zones as well. So watch out for that. But I recommend that if you're not sure about what time that is in your time zone, go to www.timeanddate.com and look at the meeting planner, or there's loads of different ways you can do it. So just translate 12:36 on the 30th of September into whatever time zone you're based in, and this is the UK time, and then translate 05:48 on the 1st of October and you'll get your time zone. So yeah, leading up to the new moon. And I always think the annular solar eclipses, which are new moons, they are very, very strong eclipses. You know, they are very powerful. I've got a story I might share, actually. I think I will. And I think it might have been either a Virgo or a Libra one, because it was around this time of year, so many years ago, like 25 years ago. And you know, this is a time to dream, and Mercury in the lead up to this, I think, can help you really focus on what you are about in your life. So if you really want to get clear about where you're going in your life and want to play with some ideas and dream into some ideas, you know, I know a lot of people who use the idea of manifestation, and they have a clear idea of where they're going, in so much so that they are absolutely certain it's going to happen. They put their desire out there really fully, really feeling into it, really enjoying the experience, and they allow themselves to believe it fully and let go of any doubt, let go of any attachment, just kind of really put it out there. You know, so I think the 30th, Monday the 30th, leading to Wednesday the 2nd, at the time of the annular solar eclipse, I think, you know, it is showing you how you could dream something to really arrive. You know, I see this as using the power of your mind to do more than just write an intention, but to actually create and help create the sensory environment that you might need to generate in yourself to feel like you are in the circumstances that you're wishing for. So my story from 25 years ago then is there was an annular solar eclipse, and I was in a time zone where I could see the eclipsing, you know, like all of a sudden it went dark and it was during the day. But at this particular time, so it was a new moon, I was wanting to buy a house, and I didn't know where I was going to buy a house, but I was really certain that I wanted to buy one. You know, I went to the beach to watch this eclipse come in, and it was quite a big deal where we were in that location of England. Everyone was out. It was eerie because they always are. You know, all the birds kind of not freak out, but there is a calm. There is this feeling like, wow, what's going on? The sky's changing. And I took some moments. You know, I got really clear beforehand what I wanted to achieve. Wrote down a lovely little kind of letter to myself, got really clear. I made it into a little boat actually while I was watching this all take place. And then shortly after, and maybe I'm a litterbug, I did do it in paper, so it would have disintegrated eventually, but I launched my little boat of intentions into the English Channel right after. Let them go out to sea. So I hope I didn't cause a big disaster. But what you might be interested in is it created an energetic that I can only assume got me into a new moon track, because within the next month, almost to the exact day of the next eclipse, I found the house I wanted to buy. And it was like, oh, there it is. All of a sudden it kind of just arrived. It fell in my lap. You know, I just saw the house I wanted. The following month, we got our mortgage. It all come through. We got the house sort of, you know, we had the agreements that we could buy this house. And then the third new moon after that, we moved in. And I've never had life quite go well. I have had some guys sometimes when it's gone easy, but like really easy. But it just fitted in the new moon pattern, and it shocked me and delighted me, you know. So I've experienced that myself, and I think this is just a really big one. So again, check where it is in your chart and really think about the energies of Libra in your chart, the planets or angles it might be working with, and use this period of time from the 30th to really create this maybe unstoppable focus. You know, this really lovely, beautiful focus to create something beautiful and helpful and worthwhile for yourself. So yeah, I think I really see that as a beautiful opportunity. Now we've obviously got Mars in a trine to Saturn. that is with us all week. And then on the 4th, Venus comes into that exact trine. But you can see they're already in a grand trine, which is really nice. And then, obviously the 6th, I've said we've got Mercury in a square to Mars. So you can see Mercury here is already in a square to Mars all week, but it's just exact on the 6th. So, Mercury in a square to Mars, I think if we consider that it is already happening all week, again, there's that challenge of, how can we get our words and our thoughts and our ideas in sync with taking action? So if you're thinking like from the perspective of manifestation, this is the sort of tension that's created by what you're creating in your head, the vision you're creating in your head, the energy that you're creating in your mind body system, and then being open to knowing what action to take, like really feeling into your senses and that sense of knowing what happens next. So yeah, that is creating a really good tension this whole week that could actually help you really magic something from thin air. So I love that. Now, of course, this grand trine, it's also creating, now not all astrologers will use Ceres in their astrology. Anytime I'm working with a private client, I've always got Ceres in my, I guess, like deck, my suite of planetary objects that I work with. And Ceres is also known as Demeter or Mother Earth. She is an energy of caring and managing things. If you think of Mother Earth or nature, nature knows when all the seeds are about to pop out of their encasements, out of their the outer casements of things. They know when plants need to come forwards so that the birds chew berries and stuff and put little seeds everywhere. They just know the timing of everything. Like if you imagined nature there was a force behind nature, she is a multitasker. She knows how to do everything, almost like she is the conductor of an orchestra, and every different part of nature has its own sound, its own rhythm, its own tone. And she understands how to pair them together, how to match them to create the symphony that is nature. So I love and really respect Ceres. She really shows where you're creating something with multiple energies and really juggling it, but bringing it together with a loving touch. And Ceres, I think, also represents grief cycles. If you think of nature and how we get like spring and summer and everything erupting into riotous color and everything, and then the sort of demise of the growth cycle as we're going into autumn and winter, it's like Ceres is managing the grief. She knows it's going to happen and she lets some things die. She allows this, so she's in a state of allowance about the growth and also about the ending of it. So that is the energy of a deep respect and what's the word I'm looking for? Reverence for life. So I love the fact that Ceres is here. She's working beautifully with Saturn and she's working beautifully with Venus. So, with this, grand trine between Mars, Venus and Saturn, you might, if you've got some beautiful like dream of relating at a much deeper level with somebody, maybe about parenting, maybe about creating life, could be your garden as well. Anything to do with caring and nurturing for others, that's absolutely supported by Ceres. She's really lending her strength there, and to create the stability. I mean, Ceres and Saturn, if I'm looking at a private client's chart and we're talking about parenting, I will look at Ceres as the mum and also Saturn as a potential father. These are two characters that I use in a birth chart to represent your mum and dad, and they often reveal some very sort of deep hidden truths. So this is like, the mum and dad being in balance together, working together. And Ceres, she's not really part of the grand trine, but she is still there with her presence. Now, one thing that she is in a little bit of friction with is the relationship to Mars. So you've got this kind of motherly kind energy, the energy that wants to support and give space and independence to all the little energies that are growing up and wanting to come into prominence. But then there's Mars that is like a small, really furiously energetic energy that just wants to come forwards, and doesn't want to be mothered, doesn't want to be observed, doesn't want to be watched. So if you've got any situations where you're a mum of a small child that's absolutely going crazy at the moment, you may well sort of really resonate with that. But the energy, I think, is also quite useful. We are all relating to each other, and sometimes we might be so full of ourselves, we just want to get going, and we'll isolate any kind of help. We will reject help. In particular, we will reject help that seems to be kind, kind of quietly powerful, serene, loving. Sometimes we don't want loving because sometimes loving doesn't necessarily create safety. This kind of Mars energy down here, especially in the sign of Cancer, which is where we're really wanting to be independent, and yet we can really feel the energy of the mum and the protection around us. I'm really getting here that Mars doesn't want to play it that safe, even though he's in this very safe and protective trine. So I just think Ceres, may well be dampening down the energy of Mars. So, if these are happening, if you've got lots of water, a water trine in your chart, or anything in the mid-water degrees, this is likely to be playing off. Also, if you've got something around 8 to 14 degrees in Capricorn, again, you'll be feeling these energies. So just watch where overcare can dampen your drive to take action, and also notice where your own desire to shun any kind of care actually stops opportunities. So it's like, where is the balance point there? It is worth considering. So that's just a little small thing, but I really like that energy. I think it's quite fun. So just before we go into the sign by sign forecast, I just wanted to end this by looking at the Sabian symbols, like I said, to cover the Cazimi, the degree in between, and then the annular solar eclipse. So again, I really just want to thank Linda Hill, because I got these Sabian symbols from her website, which is www.sabiansymbols.com, which is freely available for you to go and check out your own. And, I absolutely recommend that you check out where your moon sign is, and also your sun sign, where your sun and moon are actually in your chart. Look at the degrees for that. Again, type in the degree of where it is, and Linda's website will round it up to the next number. So anyway, the Cazimi, the Mercury Cazimi on Monday the 30th is happening on Libra 9 Sabian symbol, and it's 3 old masters hanging in a special room in an art gallery. Sometimes they seem to speak to. So it says, this symbol speaks of beauty, art, and wisdom. An art gallery brings treasures from our culture, our world, and the world around us. Time often doesn't seem to exist in this realm. All is timeless. That's interesting because the Mercury Cazimi, Mercury is also in a conjunction with the South Node, which is about the past. So that's kind of interesting as well. This symbol can show speaking to others about abstract concepts, art and culture, often on a higher level. Quiet contemplation of art, especially if people aren't around to distract, can bring rewards on many levels. Everyday chatter that doesn't go deep or explore life's beauties can be useless and mundane, but communicating on a deeper, more creative and spiritual level brings interesting insights and answers. Well, that's really spot on for the Cazimi, because you don't really want chitter chatter. You want to go deep as you can on that particular day, because there are some real treasures there. So I really think this is is great, this kind of ponderousness to create what it is you're looking for, to get really up close and find the answers that you're looking for, so that you can be focusing on them on the lead up to this annular solar eclipse. It says truth in images, intuitive vision, reverence for art and form, images bringing messages, art collections, photographs, the art of placement, clairvoyant messages and portraits. Now, given that the Mercury Cazimi is also in a conjunction with the South Node, that would be a really good time to check out your old photographs, check out all of your old little postcards and knickknacks and things that you've kept over the years, and to have a moment of nostalgia and work out, what are you happy to let go of? Are there some things that need to come back into your life? Are there some things that you can just say, wow, I'm so in gratitude, not like the sort of ingratitude of something rather than being in gratitude. There are very different energies, but that wouldn't it be great if you could have this day sort of reviewing how far you've come and enjoying where you are at and noticing what you've learned along the way? I just think that could be really powerful. So I see Mercury now as quite a dreamy day in light of this. Now, this is the day before the annular solar eclipse. And so a canoe is approaching, safety through dangerous waters. So this symbol speaks of getting through difficult times in life and coming out the other side. It also infers a being able to bring calm reassurance that a time of calm is approaching. The difficulties may have been arduous, but they've added to your experience to cope with any difficulties that are yet to come. The calm is a time to review what has passed, and now you've come through difficult straits. Realizing that you're on safe ground brings a sense of relief, and it will give you time to catch your breath. You may be the kind to go whitewater rafting in order to stir up your life somewhat. If there's nothing whipping up around you, you may go looking for it. The calm after the storm. Navigating difficult straits, risky activities, personal initiations, trials, inner calm, rough waters versus plain sailing, retaining dignity under fire. So, to me, I like this as a message that wherever you're going from, there is a sense of movement. And it's interesting that I put this degree in because it is linking the Cazimi degree to the solar eclipse degree. So it is kind of moving from one to another. And it is speaking about getting through the dark times. To me, that description really reminds me of one of my tarot cards. I started learning tarot cards when I was 15 with the Mythic Tarot. And there is this card, and I think it's on the story of Jason and the Argonauts. They are at a really critical stage in their journey, and they're being crushed in between these massive cliffs, and it looks like they're not going to get through. And in front of them, they can see the calm water, and behind them, it's all like really, really, crazy, and it's looking crazy in this thing. But the message really is, it does look crazy around you, and yet you're about to swim into or sail into calmer waters. You just have to have faith. But it is a bit of it's a moment to steady yourself and to know what you're faithful about, what you believe in. So that's interesting. I like this, retaining dignity under fire, rough waters versus plain sailing. And maybe you don't have to stir up your life so much. That might also be another meaning. So let's have a look at the Sabian symbol for the actual day of the annular solar eclipse. And I'm pretty sure Linda and I looked at this a couple of months ago. And I can't remember why. It must have been one of, where one of the planets was placed at that time. But it's a professor peering over his glasses at his students. So this symbol speaks of the ability or the necessity of looking at people as humans and not through the lens of something learned from books. And I'm guessing the same goes for like looking at people in a certain way because of the media, because of celebrity culture, because of politics going on, because of left versus right, war versus peace, my body, my choice, and all of these different, this versus this. Are we looking at our fellow humans as people, or are we learning about them through the lens of something learned through, like, this was written, these were written years and years and years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but this is way, way, way in advance of where we are right now. Otherwise, I think it would say, learnt from the internet, learnt from, the current news cycles. It's as though the aspects of the rational mind and the intuition require a different kind of focus. Seeing people for who they really are leads to better and kinder relationships, as does dropping judgmental opinions or relying on science or complicated codes of thought for answers. You may need to interrupt your rational mind to realize your intuitive ideas. At times, you may feel like the professor, and at other times, the student. Having the eyes to see each other in the true light of day is the goal. Different perceptions for different situations, seeing that others get the message, glasses and lenses, observing others, giving advice, teachers, the ability to read others. I love this. In fact, I was talking about this kind of energy last week, and I can't remember what it related to. Oh, it was in, I think, response to this particular moment in time, the Libra time, and also this annular solar eclipse. Pretty sure I was talking about, we are coming into a time to see beyond the labels that we're putting on each other, at a time when the media would have you label everyone as either someone that's very much like you or somebody that's not very much like you, and therefore they're kind of the hidden enemy or the not so hidden enemy. And so this, like I mentioned earlier, I really think on a moon cycle basis, the degrees of the new moon and the full moon each month, they are very special. They are critical degrees that carry us over to the next month until the next new moon starts. But this isn't just any old new moon. This is an eclipse and a new moon. This is an annular solar eclipse. And so I think this is a critical degree that is going to take us right the way through until the next eclipse comes up, when we get another critical degree. And that's in March. So this is, I think this is a beautiful message from Linda Hill's book about Sabian symbols, encouraging you to drop your labels as soon as possible. And one of the things that really occurs to me, and obviously the last eclipse we had just 2 weeks ago was a full moon. And during full moons, we are absolutely in a state of separation, where we are absolutely kind of like the sun and the moon are looking at each other and just not understanding each other. They just cannot get on. Again, I think when you're in a separated state, it's very difficult to be in a place of peace. It's very difficult to feel integrated. And of course, if you're not integrated in your thoughts, what kind of effect is that having on your body? Are you in a place of integration and is your body working, or is it in a state of dis-ease? Are you uneasy with yourself? So this particular Sabian symbol, I am blown away by it. It absolutely matches the energy of the new moon in Libra. I mean, what are the chances of that? So I love that so much. So I'm just going to stop now, and I'll be back in a second with the horoscopes, or the zodiac sign forecasts. Like I said at the start, you can use it for your sun, and that will express. So if you know where your sun is, which I'm guessing you do, check out that particular sign. And when you're listening to the forecast, listen to it from the perspective of it's helping you to express yourself, like your skills, your talents, how you are radiant in your week ahead. If you know your ascendant sign, that will describe how the sort of different aspects, like the architecture of your life is going. Like the shape of your life, how all the different bits slot in together. And if you know your moon sign, which I'm guessing you also know, that will show you your emotional, psychic, and intuitive week ahead. So, you know, you don't just have to listen one, you can listen to whichever ones really are speaking to you right now. So thanks for joining me for part 1. See you in part 2. Hey there, Aries. So this forecast is for whether you've got your sun in the sign of Aries, your moon, or your ascendant. This should be really, really helpful for understanding the energies of the week ahead for you. Now, if you do want to know the sort of day-by-day breakdown for this week ahead, then I really do recommend that you look at an earlier chapter called Week Ahead Overview. You can see it in the chapters of this video, and it really will sort of detail the sort of energies that are kicking off. But what I would like to focus this particular forecast around is your ability to manifest, because what I see coming up in this week ahead from the 30th to the 6th of October, 30th of October to the 6th of the 30th of September to the 6th of October, what I really see coming up is that this is a week of manifestation. Now, I've listed the 3 biggest aspects, but actually, I want to draw your attention to the final one, actually on Sunday the 6th, where Mercury is in a square to Mars. The truth is, these guys are actually in a square right the way through the week, but it's perfect on the 6th. And so I think understanding what this particular square means is really, really helpful. So I'm going to piece this out from the perspective of manifesting your deepest desires. After all, we've got the annular solar eclipse on the 2nd, which is a new moon. It's a very strong new moon with really, really positive energy. And it's the last eclipse of 2024. What that means is, I always think that the eclipses carry the degree that this happens at, which is 10 degrees in the sign of Libra. That's a critical degree. And that critical degree continues to have importance, in my opinion, until the next eclipse, which is, I think, the 13th or 14th of March, 2025. So we are setting off on a new moon path, a very strong eclipsed new moon path with a very strong Libra feel that will continue until March. So I want to use this time to talk to you about how you might best want to manifest with this energy. So overall, the Mercury square Mars, you know, we've got Mercury currently showing up in your 7th house, really to do with relationships and how related you are and how smooth the communication is between you, in a square to Mars, which is about taking action at home. And so this is really, really strong, because the tension here is, are you going to think things about your relationship? Are you going to talk about things and potentials within your relationship? Or are you going to take action? You know, with the square, there's this feeling of frustration that either you're more on the, you know, into taking action and then maybe talking later, or more about talking about it but not taking any action. And so what I'm really seeing coming up in this week ahead is an understanding that manifestation takes the thinking of it and also the doing of it. And so on Monday the 30th, we've got the Cazimi, and that is, I think it's it might be the last Cazimi of this year. I'm just going to double check, actually. I've just checked. It's the 5th of 6 particular Cazimis this year. But this particular Cazimi is, I think, really, really strong. So a Cazimi, what's really going on is the opportunity to really tune into your heart's desires. You know, Mercury, it's in the sign of Libra, very much about finding balance and finding peace and harmony. So it's very, very harmonizing. It's very sort of diplomatic and democratic. It's absolutely creative as well, in terms of the idea of love and flow and collaboration, especially where it's manifesting in your charts, which is all about partnerships and relating. So this Mercury Cazimi, I think, you know, the energy of it on the 30th is about bringing forth solutions, bringing forth informations, beautiful words that you might use to woo somebody with. This could be you getting really, really clear about your relationships and how you would like to conduct them, but also find more peace and harmony with not just your partner, but also with other people around you. Now, if you're a single Aries, this is a really, really great time. If you're wanting to attract a partner, it's the tuning in on Monday that I think is particularly strong. The idea that there could be some missing piece of information that you've not been able to get really, really clear about up until this time. And so Monday, the 30th, I will post the times of when the Cazimi is coming in, when it's exact and when it eases off in the description box below. So absolutely check that out. I'm putting the main time zones and also a link as to where you can find it, the exact timing in your time zone. But the Cazimi, during these times, your brain function is really, really strong, and it's there to bring ideas from, I think, what's really, really deep inside. Mercury is also a messenger from the gods. He is bringing messages from the gods to the humans. And so I also see this as a time when our function of being able to hear what's going on in our unconscious mind or our higher self or the voice of God, that we get that inspiration. So Monday the 30th is particularly strong. It is helping us to hone in on how we can harmoniously achieve our relationship needs and desires. Now, on the 1st, so Tuesday the 1st, is a particularly calm day, but also quite a creative day, in as much as there are some really, really good connections with the planets. So the moon will be making a trine with Uranus, a sextile with Neptune, and a trine with Pluto. It's a power day, but it's a calm power day. This is a day when whatever you've decided from the Cazimi on Monday the 30th, it's a day when you start to have greater insight about how you might take action, how you might, through your thoughts, be motivated to do something. So the more you are focusing, the more you're asking yourself, searching questions, the more you'll be getting inspiration to take action, which is, again, pulling up information about this Mercury square Mars. So the whole idea of this is to notice what your thoughts are bringing up, and where there's this feeling of needing to take action, start to act on it. And then we come in on Wednesday to the annular solar eclipse at 10 degrees in the sign of Libra. So from Monday until the 2nd, the 30th until the 2nd of October, we've been going through this sort of deep and clearing process. At this time, we're in the waning phase of the moon, where the moon is kind of disappearing. And it's a time to, I think, be in gratitude, like a focused gratitude, where we are letting go of things that are just no longer relevant to our relationship questings. And where we can, use gratitude, be aware of how far we've come, and also be into a place and a feeling of allowance to allow new things in. It's the time of the new moon. Ordinarily, it appears to us that the moon disappears, we don't have any light in the sky. But actually, what's happening at the time of the annular solar eclipse, especially if you're in Argentina or Chile, you'll notice that the sun appears to disappear. So this is really quite interesting. When the sun and the moon come together, there is this seed point, this birthing of something completely new. And so this energy at 10 degrees in the sign of Libra, with the Sabian symbol that I mentioned earlier in part 1 in the week ahead overview, there is this potential to consider all sides, to open up our perspective, and to find a much greater sense of harmony and connection and integration. So this is a really deep working eclipse to bring harmony into your life and to bring a much greater sense of balance. Now, I don't know what your particular focus is in this week ahead, but as I'm looking at this, what really strikes me as most important is indeed the energies that this is going to have in terms of your relationships, the real potential for a true sense of love, the potential to meet your lover, your partner, or your future partner on terms of absolute equality, where neither of you are rescuing each other, neither of you are relying on the other, but there is an equanimity, a really beautiful balance point whereby it feels that you are both matching and coming together. So, if you are an Aries, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, this is a very, very strong portend of relatedness in a big scale, and how it allows you to take more action at home. Other things happening throughout the whole week is we've got a grand, and this is important for you because your ruling planet is Mars, but we've also got a grand trine between Mars and Saturn and also Venus. And so this lovely grand water trine is adding stability with the emotions in this week ahead in the most private and beautiful way. So you may well find, as well as this annular solar eclipse sort of birthing this new relatedness, a deeper relatedness and a sense of inherent sort of fairness and creativity with your relationship. Something else that's being birthed is a much deeper compassion, a compassion for each other's baggage, a compassion for each other's unconscious mind and mental health, but also a deeper compassion for how we are at home, how you are at home, how you feel stable and secure at home. So this beautiful grand trine is also absolutely there to help you. One final thing that I just want to leave you on, Aries, is, Saturn here in your 12th house has been a little bit, like when Saturn goes through the 12th, we can often go into a bit of a depressed stage, where we are reflecting a lot on our failures and reflecting a lot on maybe when we have felt shy. We might be feeling quite reserved during these times, unusually reserved for an Aries. And with Venus coming into the 8th, it's almost like the way you want to relate is at such a deeper level. Well, what's really happening is your reflection, the reflections that you've made so far, I think have been quite humbling and maybe a little bit too humbling. But it's almost like you have been able to appreciate yourself at a much more vulnerable level. And also with Venus going through this part of the chart about shared baggage between you and your partners or you and your friends and family, I think there's a much greater understanding of vulnerabilities in yourself and actually how it's much easier at home when you can talk about your vulnerabilities, take them into account. I know with the sort of Aries energy, you don't want to consider where you might be vulnerable, because it might be perceived as a weakness, but actually now you've actually got more empathy for yourself. That's what I'm really getting from this, is the self-love and the self-forgiveness is coming up in a much deeper way. So I absolutely love this potential for you, Aries, and have a fantastic manifestation week whereby I really think you can create some deeper change for your relationships and also your relationship to self. So there you go. God bless and catch you next week. Bye for now. Hey there, Taurus. Welcome to your forecast for the week ahead, starting on Monday, the 30th of September, taking you all the way through to Sunday, the 6th of October. Now, it's interesting. This is, I've spoken about the energies of this week ahead on a day-by-day basis in a different chapter right at the start of this video called Week Ahead Overview. If you check out the chapters, and you'll see them in the description field, but you should be able to see them actually as you're watching the video, you can go to Week Ahead Overview for the entire overview. But what's really going on for Taurians this week, I think, is really related to this very powerful annular solar eclipse, which is a new moon. It's in the sign of Libra, which is another sign that is ruled by Venus. And of course, Venus is your ruling sign. So I do want to mention Venus in this. The position of Venus is very important. But, this whole week, I think, is about the manifestation, using the growing energies in a way that's going to work best for you. So in particular, I want to draw attention to the Mercury square Mars that is exact on the 6th, but actually it's playing out the whole week. It's really sort of coming into its own. And Mars here is creating a lot more determinism in the 3rd house, wanting to take action in your local neighborhood, wanting to take action around your friends. To me, it feels like there's something going on that you might need to actually do something about. And then there is also Mercury in the 6th house. This is where this particular annular solar eclipse is happening. And it's very much in the part of your chart about the day-to-day, and how you're running your life. Like, is it in balance? Like, is your work ruling your home? Is your home taking over? Is your health influencing everything? What about your money, your access to money and stuff? So you're like, getting everything in balance just seems absolutely vital right now, especially seeing as this sort of annular solar eclipse will be creating a new start for you. So I don't know what kind of issues have been coming up for you in how you're managing your life in recent times. But to me, this is a really, really big opportunity. And in fact, the 10 degrees of Libra is a very, very strong portend. This is a critical degree that will be carrying through right the way through to March of next year. This is a degree that, if you've got planets at or angles at, is going to affect and influence your chart. So this new moon is going to be bringing you change and an opportunity to have greater flow, greater harmony, a greater sense of equilibrium and balance throughout all aspects of your life, so that no one particular area is sort of bullying or overwhelming the others. And to do that, I really think that Mars is part of the key. There's some action that you could take out in your community that will actually help you. And that's part of the thing, because on the 30th, on Monday the 30th, as we're starting this week, there's this Mercury Cazimi. Now, a Cazimi is when a planet and the sun come together. They're in a very, very tight conjunction, and it appears that the sun is absolutely highlighting all the issues of Mercury. It's allowing the brain function, the communication, the inspiration to really, really come through and be honored by the sun's light. This is a very strong day where you're more likely than ever before to be able to come up with a magical solution. Now, I don't know what time zone you're listening to this in, but if you have a look in the description box below, I've put the start times as the Mercury Cazimi is coming in, the exact time of the Cazimi, and then as it's leaving the Cazimi. So to focus around these times if you want to use the Cazimi as a time to particularly brainstorm or make a big decision. But this Cazimi is, I think, really leading the way to the 2nd, 2 days later on the Wednesday. What is coming up for you in trying to find solutions about getting balance in your life and feeling that calm sense of equilibrium and peace at home and peace in your life. I think the big brainstorms are coming on Monday. Now, on the Tuesday, the 1st, it's actually quite a calm and creative day. The moon is moving into a trine with Uranus. I'm looking at my notes here, very scrappy. The moon will also be working into a sextile with Neptune and also a trine with Pluto. It is a day when you can pick up on the ideas from the Mercury Cazimi, the inspirations that come through, and work them in a way that's independent, that is loving, is forgiving, and is transforming. So I think Monday's a day when you're cutting away from the past. You're considering possibly how you used to do it, how it used to work, and what's changed. Is there something from the past that you need to sort of reincorporate and then make a break? There is this feeling that there's something really, really strong about Mercury on the 30th. And then as we go into the 1st of October, it's time to put those ideas into practice and to speculate and to use clever questioning to sort of hone your intentions a little bit more, really, really sort of go almost take the energy far out and wide. So you might ask questions such as, and I love this one from Access Consciousness, which really relates to the moon in a trine with Uranus, and that is, what else is possible? What haven't I considered that would also work? The more you're asking yourself these questions, the unconscious mind is getting ready to bring you everything that you need. Now, as we're coming into Wednesday, we've got the annular solar eclipse, which if you're in Argentina or Chile, you should see. The sun will appear to disappear, and there should be a beautiful ring around it. It should be amazing. But this solar eclipse at 10 degrees in the sign of Libra is a new moon. It is a new start. It's a seed point. It's something that you can be birthing. So whatever you've decided from Monday and then expanded through curious questioning and intense allowance, because again, leading up to this annular solar eclipse, the new moon is still waning. It's getting smaller and smaller. So it's a time to let go and review with gratitude, So Monday and Tuesday, these are deeply insightful and creative days. So anyway, on the annular solar eclipse, it is a moment to plant a seed, to go really, really deep and plant a really clear intention, one that you'd be very happy to carry out over 6 months. In part 1, I actually detailed when I had an annular solar eclipse occurrence, when the sun disappeared midday, and everything worked out over the next following 3 new moons. My goal came closer and closer and closer into an actuality, to the point where I bought a house and moved in on the day of the new moon. So, whatever you're planning around this time can really come into action, come into focus, so that you can create your future. So I find this really, really helpful. As the week progresses, the thing to, I think, recognize is where you've created this manifestation energy, you're going to be getting little messages from the universe, these little signs that it's time to take action, that it's time to do something, that it's time to move, it's time to pick something up. Whatever that action is communicated to you, it's time to make a move on it. And that is the tension point, I think, from Mercury in the square to Mars, where we're ignoring it. We're getting irritated and sort of fed up with people and feeling pressured to do stuff. So I think it's really important that you listen as much as you can in this week ahead and really pay attention to your intuitions, to your inner mind. I mean, one thing about Mercury worth mentioning is that Mercury is known as being a messenger between the humans and gods. If you take gods to also mean the universe, your higher self, your spirit guides, your intuition, your inner knowing, Mercury here isn't just about thoughts and receiving an email that suddenly inspires you, or seeing a YouTube. This could come in a much more subtle way. So whatever is coming in as a message for you to take action about your life, follow it up. If you're not doing that, then you'll probably find that the internalization of this particular square will bring up tension between you and somebody around you. Now, on that note, it's also worth bearing in mind that you might, having created your ideas about what you'd like to bring about to balance your life out more and to feel more peace and joy within your life and harmony, you might actually find that the answer does come from somebody in your community, from a friend, or, from, I don't know, something happening at a local level. So again, if you're getting this impulse to move and to take some action with somebody from your community, really do consider it. It doesn't have to all be generated from you. Somebody may well, out of the blue, be bringing you an opportunity. Now, the last thing that I want to just focus on, your ruling planet is Venus. And in this whole week, there is a grand trine between Mars and Venus and Saturn. It's beautiful. It's watery. It's really getting you in touch with your emotions and compassions, in particular for the people in your life. So Venus going through the 7th house is really, really beneficial in terms of absolutely bringing in this sense of equilibrium, a sense of wanting to connect with your partners, a sense of wanting to go much deeper. With Saturn in your 11th, there is the possibility to really ground with your friendships, and to see where there are strong relationships that can get stronger. This is a time to, I think, forge ahead into a stronger sense of partnership, especially in terms of people you might be networked with through work or through your hobbies and interests. And again, this is coming back into the community. So, don't be afraid to show your community some love. They may really well have your back. So there you go. I hope that's helpful for you, Taurus. Wishing you lots and lots of luck, to sort of manifest something really quite spectacular for yourself. And like I said right at the start, if you wanted a more deeper look at the energies of each day from the 30th right the way through to the 6th, then just check out the earlier chapter called Week Ahead Overview. Anyway, have a great week ahead and catch you real soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Gemini. So this is an interesting week. This is a forecast for you, taking you from Monday the 30th of September all the way to Sunday the 6th of October. Now, this is, I think, a manifestation week from my perspective. We've got the annular solar eclipse happening on the 2nd, which is a new moon. It's also the last eclipse of this particular year. The next eclipse starting in March of 2025. And I always think that the degree that the eclipses are happening in is a critical degree, and wherever it shows up in your chart, and every time it's aspected, if it's touching something special in your chart, it's bringing up an extra level of fatedness. You know, this particular area of your chart is one of great developments over the next 6 months. So, you know, given that the new moon has a certain reputation for manifestation, and also that your ruling planet is Mercury, and we've got Mercury Cazimi just happening before the annular solar eclipse, a couple of days before, I really wanted to take the time to work through these 3 aspects of next week's astrology. One of the things that is exact on the 6th is that Mercury, your ruling planet here, is in a square with Mars. Now, in truth, it's in a square with Mars all week. It's just, it gets more and more tightly into that square position. It's exactly 90 degrees away from each other on the 6th. Now, this is, I think, setting the scene or the architecture, the underpinning, the structure for the actual eclipse. And so if you are wanting to use this eclipse to manifest something, you know, in your life that absolutely means, you know, something really, really special, then start using the architecture of it. So, you know, Mercury square Mars, from my perspective, is, you know, Mercury here in your 5th house. And again, this is where the eclipse is taking place. This is a place of birthing. This is a place of passion, of love, of joy. This is where our children are. If you have children, this is where you might be conceiving if you're wanting to have a baby. This is also a place of our hobbies and the things that bring us joy. It's also a place of intimacy and lovemaking and sensuality. So the 5th house is full of really quite nice connotations. You know, this is basically, how do you feel joy? How do you increase your level of joy? Now, it's also quite beneficial that it's in the sign of Libra, which is about partnership. It's about relatedness. It's about creativity, which really matches the 5th house energy really beautifully. So Mercury is here asking you, how can we create more joy together? How can we think about it? How we can communicate about it? How can we write about it? How can we get busy about our joy? You know, Mercury at one level, you know, is about our mind and how it's all focusing, but he's also a messenger, and he's known to be a messenger from the gods to the humans. And so if you think of Mercury, you might also consider that Mercury isn't just gods. It could be the universe, it could be fate, it could be life, it could be your spirit guides, your higher self, your actual intuition. So there is a deeper level of communication going on right now from possibly a very sort of unconscious place and bringing it forwards. Now, the Cazimi on the 8th, I think is important. It's the 5th out of 6 actual Cazimi, so it's the second to last one, and it is helping you move forwards and get a solution about birthings, all kinds of birthings in your life. And how to manage your birthings. Like, so again, if your kids are having problems, it might give you the solution, you know, the little key bit of information that you are needing to be able to resolve something for your children. Or, you know, how are you going to express your passion and joy in your life? How are you going to bring more of it out? Something will click into place. Now, I don't know where in the world you are. And so if you go down to the description field, I've put the times of when the Cazimi is coming in, when it's exact, and when it's coming out. And so they are the active times. And it would be a really great time on the 30th for you to be in a sort of loving brainstorm with yourself. And if you are, ask yourself, how can I have more passion, more intimacy, more joy? How can I share my talents far and wide? And how can I enjoy it so much? How can I birth something from being myself and having fun? And the more you can focus on that, the more beautiful this solar eclipse energy will be. Now, the moon is still waning at this point. So The moon is getting smaller and smaller, and astrologically that's really related to us letting go and being in allowance, like just letting things fall away from us. Now, interestingly, Mercury is also in a conjunction with the South Node, which does bring up a lot about the past, a lot of review points. And again, you might be realizing there's some things to let go of, some things to just allow to drift off, and that is completely okay. Let the old connections come up so you can view them, assess them, and just work out what you might tweak going ahead. So, you know, from the 30th, Monday to the Wednesday, this is a time to release, let go of, allow, and be in gratitude for how things have arisen. And how you can absolutely create a blank space for yourself. I really think that nature abhors a vacuum. So the more you're letting go of, the more around the time the solar eclipse, I think, is going to bring in something brand new and really quite exciting. So Tuesday the 1st, it's quite a calm but creative day. The moon is making a trine to Uranus, creating a feeling of spontaneity and new ideas firing up. It's also making a sextile to Neptune, which is giving us a feeling of forgiveness for ourselves and compassion for others. And then the deeply sort of transformative trine that's happening on that day is really helping us to really sort of dig into our sort of core intention in a really sort of strong and insightful way. And then that leads us to the annular solar eclipse. So it's a new start in the sign of Libra, which is all about balance and equilibrium. It's also diplomatic. It's also about beauty and creativity. And it's also very much about partnership. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can create opportunities to be intimate, opportunities to go deeper into your partnering. So this is a day to really focus on what you are really wanting to bring in and almost focus on it in such a way that what you don't want is just slowly forgotten about. You know, so I've done it myself and I probably still do. You know, sometimes I say in my intention something to the effect of, you know, I really, really want this because I'm escaping that. And actually, if you can just allow this to just like forget about what you're escaping, just consider where you are right now, what you're enjoying and where this might lead you. Forget about the past. You know, this is in a connection to the South Node and the North Node is up this part of the chart, but this is a time to just let that past go. It's like cutting the strings that are keeping you connected. Now, as the week continues, this square between Mars and Mercury gets stronger, and it's really showing you the tension about wanting to take action about your finances, your self-esteem, how you value yourself. You know, maybe in part of honoring your creativity and honoring what you're wanting to bring into the world, it's going to cost you. Or, you know, you might be wondering, well, you know, if I am going to support myself through my lovely creations, how the hell can I do that? I don't have the money to do it or whatever. This is the time to really sort of, again, tune in to your higher mind, your unconscious mind, very much sort of taking the ideas of the Cazimi, the annular solar eclipse, and the intuitions that are coming up. And they will be communicating with you about different things, different bits of action to take. So I do think it's important to listen to the signs. You know, this is a time to listen less to rationality, which might be saying, oh, well, you know, to do this, you need to have this much in the bank before you can even consider following your passions. But actually, you probably find that your intuitions is like really speaking about feeling free to like take this action or that action. You know, Mars in the 2nd, I think, will bring up some strong ideas on how you'll move forwards. And they might not be traditional. You know, often a lot of sort of rational advice about moving forwards is actually about being calm and not pushing the boat too much. You know, it's about being steady, about gently accruing, and taking action to kind of level and steady the boat. But really, I think this is more about you taking a step forwards and then another step forwards and then another step forwards. It's not about keeping it all steady and balanced necessarily. You know, the action required to bring about your joy could be really quite different. Again, you've got to tune in. Now, the last thing I want to share with you is about the grand trine that's also taking place throughout this whole week. And that's involving Mars, also Venus, and also Saturn. You know, Saturn at the top is really encouraging you and showing you that right now you have quite a strong ambition to be in your authority and to be a lot stronger in terms of how you're seen, your reputation, how much you receive, you know, how are people showing gratitude to you, etc. And it's beautifully balanced with Mars. And then Venus here is showing you how you can make more of your time, how you can get more flow in your day. Again, this is very intuitive. You know, this is through the 3 water signs. So again, there's another sort of mention, Gemini. And of course, Gemini, you're ruled by Mercury. You are quite rational. You know, you are much more conventional than you are sort of deeply sort of wavering and intuitive, unless you've got something really sort of watery in your chart. So, you know, even if you might be wanting to resist the temptation to really tune in to what your body's saying, and what your like the messages are saying, what life is showing you, I absolutely agree. The more you follow your intuition, you are absolutely giving yourself this ability to see your blueprint, to see how life wants to, you know, reveal your career plan, you know, how to earn more money, how to earn more respect, and also how to flow with that in your life. So this is quite an interesting one. I really, really like this new moon solar eclipse and how it's manifesting for you, because to me, I think the missing piece in your career has been following your passion. So this is a really deep call to follow your passion at such a deep level that it will transform your career and your earnings forever. So there you go, Gemini. I hope that's helpful. Stay tuned for other hopefully helpful videos from me coming up real soon. But anyway, have a great week ahead and catch you another time. Bye for now. Hey there, Cancer. How are you doing? So this is your forecast for the week ahead, starting from Monday, the 30th of September, taking you all the way to Sunday, the 6th of October. Now, as you might know, you can use this for your sun, for your moon in Cancer, or also your rising sign or ascendant in the sign of Cancer. Use it exactly as you would think you need to. Now, this is a particularly strong week for you because the sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon, and this is a big week for the moon. In fact, it's the week where we have the last eclipse of the year of 2024. It's the annular solar eclipse, which is a new moon. You might already know that the new moon is associated with new starts, an element of clearing away the past, getting ready for a new birthing. So the new moon energy, in particular, an eclipsed new moon energy is really, really special. Now it's happening at 10 degrees in the sign of Libra, which is here in your chart, in a very, very special place, in this place of the home, in the place of privacy, stability, and family. And so this is, I think, an opportunity to create something really, really great for how you can feel a greater sense of belonging, a greater sense of peace and harmony throughout your family and your home. Now, in particular, I always think that the degrees that these happen at last until the next eclipse comes up. So 10 degrees of Libra is a critical degree lasting you, and the intentions of it are playing out throughout the next 6 months until March of 2025. What I'm going to do with this forecast is concentrate on the manifestation energy that's coming up this week and how you might choose to use it, and how it might work for you in the best possible way. And it's less about doing a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right the way through to Sunday kind of update on each of the days. I've covered the day-by-day forecast in a chapter earlier on in this video called Week Ahead Overview. So if you want the nitty-gritty of that, then check that out as well, because that's absolutely there for you. But this one for you, Cancer, is absolutely about the manifestation energy. So one of the things that I really notice about this week ahead is that we've got on the 6th, that's Sunday the 6th, we've actually got the tension between Mercury and it's square to Mars. So Mars is here in the sign of Cancer currently, really kind of putting a rocket under your backside. It's really making you want to take action about yourself, maybe about your body. You might be feeling a lot more spiky than usual, a lot more determined than usual. and there is a sense of courage, a greater sense of courage and a greater sense of ambition, usually with Mars going through the first house. But it's in a square. Now, although it's exact on Sunday, the 6th, it's actually square all the way through the whole week. However, it's absolutely really strong on the Sunday. So I think however we're going to use the manifestation energy in this week ahead, let's include the fact that there is this tension, because the tension between Mercury and Mars, so Mercury's down here, it's allowing us to talk more at home, to focus more at home, and to get sort of insight and inspiration about home. Now, the reason I said insight and inspiration is because on Monday the 30th, Mercury is going into a position called the Cazimi. Now, there's 6 of them this year. This is the 5th one. And it's a Cazimi at 8 degrees Libra. So just a couple of degrees before the actual eclipse. So again, it's a really, really strong little energy pocket here. But the Cazimi, and if you want to know the exact time of it in your area, I've put some of the time zones below in the description field, and also a link that will help you find the exact times of when it's coming in, when it's exact, and when it's leaving, and when, Mercury is less active. But during the time of the Cazimi, it is, I think, a moment of inspiration. Mercury is known as being the messenger between the gods and the humans. Now, we could consider that is God, the universe. It could be your higher self, your guides, your unconscious mind. Mercury is bringing up something from the deep and bringing it into your conscious awareness, in particular around the home and your levels of stability. And because it's in the sign of Libra, it's also bringing up thoughts about sort of peace and harmony at home, how you can get the balance right, how everyone can get their needs met, how you can get your needs met in a graceful and beautiful way. So I really see it as a beautiful new beginning at home. And the tension with Mars is that you're really wanting to take action. And so one of the problems is it might feel like it's all talk at home and a lot of thinking around it, but no real action. And there's a lot of sort of like starting line energy, like you're really like, it's like on your marks, get set, and you're really ready to take action. And yet it still feels like there's something to figure out at home. So that's a tension that's going on all week. But from the Cazimi, the energy, I think, is absolutely about inspiration and going deep within and going deep into your intuition. So I don't know if you're able to put aside some time, in particular during the time of the Cazimi, to tune in, to meditate, to dream, to do some hypnosis, to do some kind of mind mapping, or to do some kind of like a guided walk through the home, or a guide, not like a guided meditation, but almost like a guided therapeutic, for instance, there are people that do like the idea of family constellation, but with items, like how can you get your unconscious mind talking to you in a deeply creative way. I really think that if you're able to sit with yourself and consider what you'd like to experience in your day-to-day life, at home, with your family, with your, partner and kids, if that's your setup, whatever is going on for you, like, how can you open this up more through your intuition? In fact, it's not really for me to answer, because this is your process. But immediately, I've got I sometimes have crystals and rocks and stuff on my desk. But if you picked up some things that felt great to you, I'm really getting this because the 4th house, I think, is a place of nature and groundedness. But if you could pick up some things around you to represent you and every member of your family and kind of cast them into a circle and move them around, and then just tune in to what they're representing, what messages they might have for you. This is a time where I think you can get some revelation, some real importance about, how and where you live. Now, again, I just said where you live. There may well be this very sort of like burning need to move home. And so this could be the energy that you need to be able to move you from your home to your next home, by March of next year, you know, given that it's eclipse to eclipse. I've done a house move myself following an annular solar eclipse where I really put out that strong energy to move home. And 3 months later, on the third new moon, boom, there I was. So this is really, really strong. And I think this energy is about you finding a peaceful way to live. Now, something else that I also want to draw your attention to in this week is also that there is a beautiful grand trine going on in the water signs. So there's Saturn in Pisces, there's Mars in Cancer, and there's also Venus in Scorpio. And so these water houses for you are equating to this feeling of freedom, this feeling of like tuning into higher resonance, to like the higher mind, the idea of everything that's outside of your usual narrative, like spirituality, religion, belief systems, philosophy, what is life about, all the, you know, the meaning of life and stuff, and how you can grow stronger in that. And then Venus in the 5th house is about how can you find more passion, how can you find more flow in your life and more joy. And then Mars is about how can you take action to get all of these working. So I also think in terms of your move, if that's what you're wanting to do, you might also want to ask yourself, what action do I need to take to be able to bring more breadth and depth and soul to what I'm passionate about? Because if you can answer these questions, then your move will go really smoothly. And this is the energy to hold around the time of the annular solar eclipse. So I hope that's helpful for you. You know, the moon isn't actually doing one phase or another, you know, this week. You know, as we're starting, it's in a letting go phase and a sort of gratitude phase. Then it disappears, you know, at the time of the new moon. In fact, the sun disappears, or appears to. And then the moon appears to grow again. It starts to wax. And that's when it's time to build on your ideas. So again, in terms of this week ahead, you might decide that for the first part of it, it's about shedding your skin to let go of your preconceived ideas and consider that it's time to move on, and then kind of rest in the middle, and then thereafter start to feel into the plan of the new life. So I hope that's helpful to you, Cancer. Have a great week ahead. Have an amazing annular solar eclipse, and catch you in another session real soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Leo. So this is a forecast to take you from Monday the 30th of September right the way through to Sunday the 6th of October. Now, this is an interesting week because your ruling planet is the sun. And the sun is involved in the annular solar eclipse. It's the day of the new moon. And the day of the new moon is when the sun and the moon come together. But it's not just the moon that the sun is coming together with. You know, in this week, we've also got Mercury Cazimi, which is when Mercury and the sun come together. And, you know, in effect, the sun is having a Cazimi with both of them, because actually the eclipse is a Cazimi. It happens every single month, or the new moon is a Cazimi. You know, that every time a planet comes into a perfect alignment with the sun is taking it into the heart, and the sun is kind of energizing that particular planet's meaning. Now, Mercury on the 30th is all about the mind and how we can take our communications, our knowing, our like written word, our spoken word, all our understandings to a next level. And then on the 2nd, when we've got the annular solar eclipse, the last eclipse of 2024, it's a really, I think, a special time. That eclipse energy, you know, in fact, both of these degrees, 8 to 10 degrees in the sign of Libra, that is a very strong and potent pocket of energy. And that is going to carry us around and our intentions around right the way through in my opinion, to March of next year when we've got the first eclipse of 2025. So I think it warrants some investigation as to how we can use this energy to manifest. And that's the purpose of this forecast today, Leo. So, you know, if you're wanting on Monday do this, on Tuesday do that, right the way through to Sunday, I've actually got a chapter in the beginning of this video called Week Ahead Overview. So look for that chapter, because in this particular part of this video, I really want to talk about how you can manifest for yourself using the energies this week. This is strong creation energy. So in some respects, like Leo or the sun is about, you know, sharing our energy and shining and radiating and, you know, it's about us being in this place of joy, and it's absolutely about kind of being happy to be ourselves. You know, if we asked, if I did a questionnaire of which sign of the zodiac could you most like to be like, I really think that Leo and Sagittarius would probably score really highly, because there's a sort of joy and like a joy of life with both of them. Really, they're both quite sort of outward facing and quite relaxed. Now, in this particular week, the sun is actually giving his energy, or kind of promoting Mercury, putting Mercury in the focus, and then a couple of days later putting the moon in focus and really allowing the moon to come out. So I wonder how that energy of putting someone else forwards, or putting an energy that's not yours forward, how that works with you. You know, it's almost like you could be trying on another persona, you know, on a sort of like, you know, this is what I'm intuiting right now. So, you know, over this whole week, Mercury is in a square to Mars. Now it's exact on the 6th, and Mars is showing up in the 12th house, which is, I think, showing a sort of like deep need of investigation right now, like you're diving into some of your older motives on things, and possibly some of your self-sabotage. You might also be focusing on, you know, why you've had particular conflicts in your life and your part that you've been playing in that. You know, are you a victim? Probably not. You know, Mars in the 12th, I think, really shows where you might have engineered your own demise at a few different times in your life. Now, Mars is also wanting you to take action about your inner mentality, you know, about your inner callings, and also like how you can get your life back on the right track. You know, I think when Mars is coming through here, he's not so active in actually doing things, but is kind of actively delving deep into your unconscious mind. It's quite a strong force. Like, that's why I say it's a force of investigation. And, you know, this square that he's creating to Mercury, which is really here in this part of your chart about, your relationships with, I'm going the wrong way now, with your relationships. Let's find it. There we go. Mercury here is in a place of relationships and friendships. You know, so to me, it feels like some of your tension in this week ahead, and what might want to be factored into this manifestation week, is how your unconscious mind has created difficulty with your friends, with your colleagues, with your neighbors, with feeling a sense of belonging to your community. To me, it's bringing up an underlying dis-ease. You know, obviously, you know, the sign of Leo is really quite gregarious and really wants to be feeling central. And of course, with this new moon or the eclipse in this part of your chart, which is very social, very much about belonging, very much about being a man about town or a woman about town, you know, kind of getting involved in things. You know, there is the potential to go much deeper into your public persona, not necessarily big public, but, you know, the energy of your how you're experienced within your community. So you could go much deeper. And so what I really get here is that in this week ahead, there's some conflict. You know, are you in two minds about your ability to connect? Like, do you really enjoy the social aspects as much as you think? You know, what is stopping you from fully allowing yourself to join? You know, is there something superior? Like, again, you know, the sun is illuminating Mercury and illuminating the moon throughout the first 3 days. To me, this could also be bringing up something about the energy of Leo, which can sometimes be a bit superior, you know, a bit of the king of the jungle. Like, you know, it's a very regal sign. So I think, you know, one of the things that might be coming up in this week ahead is, how can you feel more connected to people when sometimes you feel a bit separated, and what that means, and what you discover about that, I think, is past business, past separation. And it's, you know, your big question is, do I want to hold on to these old styles? Do I want to hold on to these old conflicts, or can I let them go, let them pass away? So in this week ahead, you know, the first few days from the 30th until the eclipse on the 2nd, that's Wednesday, the moon is getting smaller and smaller, which is really allowing you to let go and showing you what you might want to focus on, but also go into allowance on. So you might focus on something, realize, you know, the effect it's having, and then say, okay, maybe that's not for me. I'm going to allow that to fade away. And then you might focus on something else and think that's really helpful. So I think that, you know, Monday to Wednesday of next week is a time of evaluation, quiet evaluation, gentle evaluation. You're not needing to beat yourself up. It's about, you know, maybe sort of like parking the ego, or parking the sort of outer Leo energy, and saying, you know, what's underneath this sort of big exterior, this big presence, what's underneath it? You know, what is at the core of you? On Tuesday the 1st, there's some lovely aspects with the moon that is creating a sense of flow and ease, introspection, but also brain waves. So, you know, after the Cazimi on Monday, we've got this moon trine Uranus, moon sextile Neptune, and a moon trine Pluto. So there are some deep patterns that are coming up. And then on Wednesday, obviously, we've got the new moon, the solar eclipse, for us to actually birth and describe our intentions, and to kind of use them in some kind of, I would say, like ceremonial way, or whichever way works for you, how you work with intentions and manifestation. But it's a time, I think, to sow that new energetic potential into the world, you know, to get ready to like birth it. Now, I did mention the Mercury Cazimi as being this time of, you know, the thinking function coming out. What I didn't mention as well is that Mercury is seen as a messenger from the gods to the humans. And so it might be the God, it might be universe, it could be your higher self, your spirit guides, your intuition. So Mercury here is really helping you to delve real deep inside your mind, but bring out all the thoughts and feelings related to your community, your friends, your early school experiences, you know, the things that you've learned about the world, and how they fit in. You know, there's going to be a lot of insight coming out with this. And the exact times for the Mercury Cazimi, I've put them in about 4 different time zones in the description below, and also a link so you can find the exact times when Mercury is coming into his Cazimi, when he's in the exact Cazimi, and then when it's fading away. These are the times to really like be open to awareness. Now, you might find that during this Mercury Cazimi, your greatest level of brainwaves are coming from actually talking to somebody from your community, talking to your bestie, like really saying, you know, asking sort of big open questions as to, what do you think might prevent me from experiencing more of my community? How could I be a big fish in a small pond and yet not create too many waves? You know, all these different kinds of questions can come up. It might be actually that your intuition is activated by the people around you. So that's something to consider. Now, as the week progresses, I think the Mercury function and this annular solar eclipse is going to be communicating with you with some form of intuition. Like I said, Mercury is quite intuitive here, but also Mercury can act as a messenger. So you may well find that there are clues and ideas and invitations that are coming from people in your community, from your friendship groups, from a friend of a friend, if you know what I mean. So really bear sort of weird messages, surprising messages, things that are coming up on social media that all of a sudden grab your attention. Everything that is social and media related and coming through friends is a potential clue to answer the questions about what you might create for yourself, how you might feel more of this belonging, how you might feel more connected to people in a greater way. And from these clues, don't be at all surprised if you're getting some feelings of things you want to take action on. Now, again, the action coming up, I think, is really at the deep unconscious mind level. It's reprogramming the past. So don't be surprised to get a nudge to do something psychological, to talk to somebody, to examine, a new way of thinking or a new way of programming the mind. To me, there is this very strong energy of resurrection. The last thing I want to share with you, Leo, is that there is also a grand trine occurring this week, sort of really using the Mars energy in the 12th house, which is really private, connecting to Saturn in the 8th house, which is reminding you of past business with family, in particular, a lot of baggage and expectations and things. And then down to Venus in the 4th, which is hopefully where you're feeling really secure and kind of glowing at home at the moment. So to me, there is also this stabilizing energy of home, of understanding some of the baggage that goes on in your life, and also how you might be contributing it, how you might be your own worst enemy. So actually, I think this week could really give you some strong revelations about how you're being in your world and how that might be stopping what you're really wanting to manifest. And if you are able to really listen deeply in time for Wednesday, you can absolutely bring that out in your monthly or eclipse-based intention times. This is a time to manifest something really deep and transforming for yourself. So I hope that's helpful to you, Leo. Have a great week. Have a great eclipse. If you're in Argentina or Chile, then you'll actually get to see it. It looks like it's going to be really beautiful and clear for you. So have a great one and catch you another time real soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Virgo. How are you? So this is a forecast for the week ahead, starting Monday, the 30th of September, taking you all the way to Sunday, the 6th of October. Now, if you're looking for more of a day-by-day forecast for this week ahead, at the start of this, there is a chapter called Week Ahead Overview, and I recommend that you listen to that because that will give you some of the overarching activities to be doing each day. But in this particular part of the forecast, I really want to focus on manifestation because we've got a week with, I think, a lot of manifestation energy. And I think this will be quite helpful for you, especially in terms of your earnings, your resources, and how valuable you feel in yourself, like your levels of self-esteem. And so what's really going on, and I really want to draw attention to Mercury, which is your ruling planet, is that Mercury is actually, I think, in quite a strong and or strident position this week. So first of all week we've got this square from Mercury to Mars. Now, in fact, it's exact on the 6th, like fully at 90 degrees. But throughout the whole week, Mercury and Mars are getting closer and closer into this true square energy. And so it's bringing up a sense of conflict between your mind and also the actions that you're taking and how that communication between what you're thinking about and what you choose to do occurs. So there's a bit of strain. And I always think this strain is what we need to get moving, to get things to proceed a little bit. So that's an ongoing thing. But then as we start the week on the 30th, we've got Mercury Cazimi. Now, this is the 5th Cazimi out of 6 in total. So this is the second to last one. And this is in the sign of Libra, a couple of days before the annular solar eclipse. Now, in fact, a solar eclipse is in and of itself a Cazimi. The moon comes in and is highlighted by the sun, and of course the Mercury Cazimi, Mercury comes in and is highlighted by the sun. The sun is, they're in the heart of the sun, both Mercury and the moon, 2 days apart, and the sun is absolutely kind of energizing. The energy of Mercury becomes clearer. Now obviously, as a Virgo, the energy of Mercury appears to be quite rational and discerning, really wanting to unpick things and understand the nitty-gritty and stuff. And yet Mercury is also known as being a divine messenger. Mercury is the go-between between the humans and the gods. Now, for that, you could read God, your religion, the universe, your higher self, spirit guide. It could also be your inner self. It could be all sorts of different ways that Mercury can communicate with you. Think of it as life messaging you. Like, there are so many different ways that you might hear something and understand something. So, on the day of the Mercury Cazimi, I think there are going to be some big messages, especially for you with your Virgo energy, but there's some big messaging to help you understand and give you a sense of freedom and possibly a brainwave, all of a sudden something dropping in that will allow you to really clarify what it is you're bringing into the world, like how you are birthing a new start for yourself. Because, the annular solar eclipse, this is the last eclipse of 2024. And I always think that an eclipse point, i.e. 10 degrees in the sign of Libra, it's a critical point, it's a critical degree. And that degree, I think, not all astrologers will agree with me, but I think that's a critical degree that takes us all the way around until next year, next March, when we have the next eclipse. So this, whatever is being birthed right now, I think is really important to you. And it's in the place of resources, your work, how you get recognized, how your value is increasing, and also how you value yourself. So there's some really big new starts you could create around the time of this annular solar eclipse. And the Cazimi on Monday is helping you really dig down to what you need to know to be able to do this. So it's like, it will tell you what you need to know to save you time, money, effort, heartache. It's going to really give you the nitty-gritty. So I think that's really quite cool. Now, the actual times of the Cazimi, obviously it comes in and then it's exact and then it goes out. Now, I've specified those times in the comments in the description below, so you can find that time or a link to be able to put it into your time zone. I've put a few time zones there. But either side of the Cazimi, on the 1st of October, we've got a calm and creative day. We've got some really good energies from the moon. So the moon is connecting to Uranus in a trine, really, again, giving us these sort of sudden brain waves and these sudden understandings and acknowledgements. There's a lovely sextile to Neptune that is allowing us to see beyond the normal narrative and to, I think, tune into compassion and forgiveness. And then there's this really transforming trine to Pluto, I think, that is giving us the courage to make a new decision. Now, this particular eclipse that's happening is also a South Node eclipse. These are, I think, eclipses that are recognizing the past, but also moving us in a new direction. The South Node is always moving this way, and the sun and the moon are moving this way. So it's like we are metaphorically cutting away from the past and going into a new future. So whatever new beginning you're creating for yourself is, I think, really quite strong. So absolutely use that energy. Now, as the week progresses, obviously, we still have this Mercury square Mars energy going on. And the Mars energy component of it is really highlighting friendships, networks, anywhere where you're creating something with other people, anywhere where you're dreaming a new dream with people. So it's like, this might be your manifestation point for you, for your dreams, but actually where this is, it's almost like you are connected with people who also have a dream. And so one of the tension points for you is that maybe you're wanting to create your own dream and manifest that, whilst there are people really trying to pull you into their manifestations and saying, we need your energy, we need this, we need that, and you have to be part of it. So that is also something to be aware of. And I think you're going to get a certain amount of irritation around your friends and networks, almost like they're too demanding. And actually in this week ahead, you're really wanting a bit of peace and quiet so you can make up your own mind, decide your own value for yourself, and also make some key decisions about your work going forwards. So I think this is a very, very transforming time. Now, the last thing that I want to share with you, Virgo, is that, Mercury is in the sign of Libra. It's going into the Cazimi. It's got the square with Mars. But, Mars is also highlighted by this grand trine in this week ahead. So it's connecting with Saturn in Pisces, and it's also connecting to Venus in Scorpio. Now, this grand trine energy is all water energy. It's emotional, it's soulful, it's showing a real flow of energy from friends and contacts and networks to partners and really close people in your life, and to your neighbors. And so there is also this kind of divine flow of people in your life, like all of the relationships. And of course, Mercury in Libra is all about relationships and relatedness. So it may be that your future destination, your future ideas about work and how you value yourself and how you might increase your assets, increase your resources, it might have a lot to do with how you're perceived by everyone outside of yourself. But it might also be that you do need to collaborate with other people, because your dream is best expressed through other people. So that's something else to consider. But this particular trine, I think, will also give you a sense of patience, and also a sense of perseverance and a sense of kindness and forgiveness. So I hope that's helpful to you, Virgo, in sort of navigating this week ahead. Have a great week. And if I can be of any sort of help, then just get in touch. All my details are below. But anyway, take care and catch up with you all soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Libra. So this is the forecast for you, whether it's your moon, your sun, or your ascendant. This is your week ahead forecast starting from the where are my notes? Monday, the 30th of September, taking you all the way to Sunday, the 6th of September, October even. There you go. I obviously need my notes. Now, what is specifically good about this week ahead, I think, is the fact that we've got a lot of manifestation energy. Now, if you are looking for a more day-by-day forecast, then there's a section earlier in this video called Week Ahead Forecast or Week Ahead Overview, where I detail, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc., right the way through to Sunday, and what kind of activities might suit you. What would be good to use the energy for. But for this particular forecast, Libra, I'm looking at describing the manifestation energy that is really coming in for you, how you might use it, and what you might need to be aware of. Now, this is a big one for you because this is in your sign. We've got the annular solar eclipse at 10 degrees in the sign of Libra. I mean, how does it get any better than this is my first question to you. I mean, this is quite a significant start, a significant new start. But it really happens before the annular solar eclipse, because on the 30th of Mercury, on the 30th of September, which is Monday, we've also got a Mercury Cazimi taking place at 8 degrees Libra. So there is a very tight sort of pocket of manifestation energy in a very important part of your chart, which is about you coming forward as yourself, embracing your identity, loving who you are. I really see it as a time of great gratitude. And the reason being is, there's no sort of overall moon phase to this week ahead. It starts with a waning moon where the moon is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which I absolutely equate to letting go, reviewing and releasing, and creating space for something completely brand new, which is where the new moon comes in, that seed setting, where you're absolutely planting a seed, which might manifest straight away, might take months, might take, a bit longer than that. And then the moon starts to get bigger and bigger. It's in the waxing phase. So, the first part of the week is releasing. And I always think releasing with gratitude is particularly useful at this time. Then birthing this new reality, or the idea of the reality, before starting to put the growth energy out there. So I see this as, a week of two definite halves. Now, the Mercury Cazimi is where Mercury comes in closer, and then is in an exact conjunction with the sun. Now, there is a tiny window of variance. So, Mercury is in the actual Cazimi energy from when it's 17 minutes of arc before the exact conjunction and 17 thereafter. I've got the times of this below in the notes, in the description notes, so you can find out the window of opportunity of the Cazimi, which is lasting quite a while. It's not just like 20 minutes and you're done. It's quite a few hours, at least half a day. So, there's a good chunk of time where the Mercury Cazimi, which is Mercury's energies, absolutely magnified and I think taking on a bit of a spiritual dimension. Mercury's known as the messenger. He's a messenger god. He is bringing information from humans to gods and back and stuff. So, you could be getting information from your higher mind, your spirit guides, wherever you are picking up clues about life, wherever life is communicating to you. That is like Mercury, the messenger. And so Monday is a very, very strong day. Now, on that day, on that day, Mercury is also in a conjunction with the South Node. So it's also like messages from the past are coming up. In particular, I see this as a day full of reviews, where you might be reviewing, again, because we're in the waning phase, you might be reviewing, okay, what has sustained me so far, but is not part of my onward journey. And so on Tuesday, the 1st, we've got, I think, what's, a calm and also quite interesting day. We've got the moon in a trine to Uranus and also in a trine to Pluto. The moon is also in an opposition to Neptune. So it's bringing up some real sort of like big energies, I think, where we can get some real sort of almost deeper insight from what came up on the 30th with the Mercury Cazimi. And all of this is standing you in good stead, because on the 2nd, the day of the annular solar eclipse, and also on the day of the new moon, when the moon is absolutely kind of sort of focused on because of the sun. And interestingly, the sun is going to appear to disappear. That's kind of funny. And if you're in Argentina or Chile, you'll be able to see this eclipse, hopefully very clearly, as the sun disappears. But this is a real sort of strong birthing point. This is, almost like out of nothing, we can create something. I really love the idea of getting a very, very clean slate, like really clearing the decks so that you're manifesting something from a real sort of clean and clear space of possibility. This is a really strong one for you because it's in your sign. So if I was in your shoes right now, Libra, I would be clearing off as much as I can in terms of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, just doing the bare bones of what I need to do, and carving out some deep reflection time for myself, really using it. In the first part, I talk about when I actually used an annular solar eclipse. This is like donkey's years ago. Crikey. Like 25 years ago. And I made a very, very strong decision to buy a house. I didn't know where it was going to be or how it was going to happen. And with, that particular eclipse and then the following 3 new moons, I saw a house, made an offer, got my mortgage accepted, and then moved. So, it was like everything was lined in alignment with the new moon. And there was this new moon track. Now, this is the last eclipse of 2024. And so I think that 10 degrees Libra is a critical degree that's going to last and keep us going until March 2025, when the next eclipse comes in. So I really think for you in your particular shoes, absolutely focus on what that part of your chart is representing. Is it connecting to any angles or planets? Obviously, you've either got the sun, the moon, or the ascendant at this particular place. So it's probably really, really important for you. This is an opportunity to bring in some really profound change for yourself in terms of your identity. Now, throughout this whole week, Mercury is in square to Mars. Now, what I want to do is sort of explain what that might mean, because they're not just in the exact square on the 6th. They are in a growing square right the way through the week. And Mars is here sort of shifting and getting very, very busy in terms of how you want to create life, how you are viewing your career, how you are as an authority figure, also your reactions to authority figures. I mean, you might be finding you're a bit more rebellious than usual. You are absolutely a lot more in your energy currently, in terms of how vocal and outward, possibly critical you are of work. And that is somehow stressed out, with Mercury in the first. So not only do you have a stronger presence at work, but you're also wanting to talk more and express yourself a lot more. And so you may well find that because you are more in your own energy, that you are creating more waves at work and creating some stress. But, from the perspective of creating a new life for yourself, or creating a new start for yourself in terms of how you feel about yourself, how you value yourself, how you're seen. I mean, it's also affecting your body. So it could be about new health goals, or image goals or something like that. But, as the week goes on, and the Mercury energy is very, very strong this week, I really expect for you to get messages from a deeper place, like new ideas, new brainwaves, new things dropping in. And these ideas are going to be creating the actions of tomorrow. They're going to be creating actions to take place in your career. It's almost as if for you to be able to develop yourself in the way that you're hoping to, it also feels like you need to make some shifts at work as well. Now, there's a couple of other things I also want to focus on. So, for instance, your ruling planet is Venus, and currently Venus is in the second house. Venus is in the sign of Scorpio, and for you, that is representing wealth, how you earn more, how you can make space for more, and also how you are valuing yourself. And she is in a long, slow trine. She's coming into a trine. She's not in an exact trine with Mars, but she's coming into this long, slow trine with Mars and also with Saturn. And I think this is stabilizing all matters of work, and showing you that in terms of work and in terms of achieving more, you absolutely need to go into the emotions. So I know from the Libra perspective, you don't like to make waves too much. You're far too kind and diplomatic to really want to make sort of massive tidal waves or anything. However, you have to actually go in with your emotions and recognize your emotions, recognize your intuition, and see how they're playing out. Venus in the second is about you receiving more, coming into a time of receivership. Saturn in the sign of Pisces is about you getting more organized in the general flow of work. And Mars at the top is about you having courage to speak up and get things resolved. So I think when you're really working from your heart and also intending to move forwards with a new start in the way you are in yourself, like this new you, this new growing identity, I really think that this is a good strategy that's going to hold you in good stead and keep you going for a good 6 months. So that's what I wanted to really talk through with you. I hope this was useful. Like I said in the first part of the video, there is a day-by-day forecast for the week ahead. But anyway, I hope that was helpful for you, Libra. This really, really is a big one, and it is worth paying a bit of attention, and really thinking what you want to do with that energy, putting it to good use. So there you go. Lots and lots of love to you. Take care and hopefully speak soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Scorpio. So this is a forecast for the week ahead. I'm taking you from Monday, the 30th of September, all right the way through to Sunday, the 6th of October. Now, I don't know if it's you, Scorpio Ascendant, you, the Sun in Scorpio, or you, the Moon in Scorpio that I'm talking to you right now, but this forecast is for all of you. Now, in this week ahead, if you're wanting a breakdown of the day by day and how you might want to use your energy on that particular day, you might find an earlier forecast in this video helpful, which is the week ahead overview. So look out for that in the chapters, and that will, really break down each day and all the particular aspects. But in this part of the forecast, I really want to concentrate on the manifestation energy, because as far as I can see, this manifestation energy taking place in this week ahead is really, really strong. Now, what's more, it's really activating the 12th house, which is the house of the unconscious mind. And you could argue that house is also about the Akashic records, or all that is energy that maybe we can't see, but we can perceive, we are aware of. There is a real sort of deep connection to the unknown, and this annular solar eclipse that's happening on the 2nd of October is absolutely opening up our intuition. I say our because I've got Scorpio rising. It's opening up our intuition and our psychic awareness, our psychic prowess in a really, really big way. So what I'm going to use this forecast for is to describe these three aspects, why I think they're helping us with our manifestation, how you might choose to use it, where it's going to affect you, and then a couple of little bits about Pluto and also a grand trine that so that's including both of the rulers of Scorpio, both Mars and Pluto. So the first thing I want to draw attention to is the fact that we've got this long, slow Mercury square Mars energy, which is exact on the 6th, but Mars is here in the sign of Cancer and Mercury is in the 12th house. Now, like I said, Mercury is, I've said this in other videos and earlier in this video, but, Mercury is a messenger, so he's all about how we're talking, how we're communicating, but also he's a messenger from the gods. And to the human. So he's bringing messages in all the time. And so you could see that as messages from the unconscious mind, messages from your higher self, your inner self, your spirit guides, the universe, however you choose to see it. But it's almost like there's cosmic intel coming in, being delivered straight to you, but getting through the gatekeeper of your conscious mind and getting into the unconscious. So I think there's an opportunity for some real deep reprogramming in a really smart and clever way. Now, also, so there's Mercury, but then there's Mars in the 9th house, which is wanting you to take action about what you know. Now, I have to say, since Mars has gone into the sign of Cancer, I have started so many courses, started reading so many books. I'm listening to so many podcasters right now. It's unreal. I can't get enough information right now. And so I know that Mars is absolutely bringing up a strong desire to know more about the outer world, but also the inner world, because, the 9th house is also about philosophy, belief systems, spirituality, religion, also politics, everything that is outside of your usual sort of local narrative, so outside of what goes on in your community. It's like, what is higher than that? What is beyond that? So you may well find that there's this sort of real strong desire to learn about what's going on out there, and how it might affect you, when actually Mercury is talking directly into your unconscious mind. You don't actually have to go looking for it, because right now there is almost like a direct pipeline coming straight into you, into your brain. But there's tension, like it's almost like you can't quite get enough, like I'm describing for myself. So many learning opportunities, truly. Now, also on the 30th, which is Monday, there is a Cazimi. Now, there's 6 Mercury Cazimis this year, and this is the 5th one. So it's the second to last one of this year. And the Cazimi is essentially when a planet goes into an exact conjunction with the sun. Now, I'm not going to explain the nature of Cazimis here, because I've done it in several big videos, and in particular, I've explained it in a lot of detail in my Mercury Cazimi video, the overview of all of the Cazimis in 2024. So I don't want to rehash that, but I'll put a link below so you can see it if you want to. But this particular Cazimi, the whole idea is that Mercury, the function of it is really enhanced during the like a little time slot, and I'm putting the time slot below and a link so you can put it into your own time zone. So, you know, it's a good more than 10 hours, I think, when there is the Cazimi energy and the moment of the exact Cazimi. And this is a time when I think you can absolutely focus on what it is you would like to know and what it is that you might like to know that could absolutely change your world completely, like reprogram your unconscious mind, like reprogram it for something so much stronger, something that might obliterate your self-sabotage, your fears, your insecurities, your anxieties. This could really change the way your inner mind workings operate, you know, so that you can be more effective. But actually, I mean, why talk about effectiveness when you talk about peace and joy and love and connection? So I think this is a real true awakening moment for you, us, an opportunity. So, you know, we've got this energy on Mercury, and whatever you're focusing on, it's almost like there's this laser-like energy. And then in between the 30th and the 2nd, so that's Monday and Wednesday, on the 1st, we've actually got quite an interesting moon day. You know, so the moon is going to be in a trine to Uranus and a trine to Pluto. So from Uranus here and to Pluto. So this is one of your ruling planets, which is really, really helpful. It's really helping us to transform and also to follow our intuition. It's a calm day, but full of insight. And so I think this 30th and the 1st are brilliant. You know, use it to really consider how you want to manifest the annular solar eclipse. Now, the annular solar eclipse, I spoke about in the first part of the video. You know, I've used manifestation around the times of the eclipses in a really, really strong and powerful way. And I think it's important to be very clear about how you want to use it, because if you're focusing on something that you don't want, you could create a whole heap of danger and trouble for yourself. Absolutely. You know, I described earlier in the video, you know, how I used it, and, you know, 3 exact lunar months later, I moved into a new house, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Each new moon that occurred, this next step appeared as if by magic. So there is something really, really strong about it. But again, you don't want to mess around with the energy. You know, you want to just be looking at what you are allowing into your existence, not what you're rejecting. So it's a game of allowance, a game of getting into the energy. So you don't even have to say something like, I want to manifest this. It's more about being in the awareness of who you are, like feeling it and saying it and knowing it, you know. So it's a really strong energy. So yeah, I see the first part of the week is focusing, letting go, being grateful for like the learnings that you've got, and kind of zeroing in. And then the annular solar eclipse is our calm, our moment to step into our energy. And thereafter, you know, we're going into the waxing phase, you know, so the little seed point that we've laid out or we've felt into, we've stepped into, then it starts to grow slowly, slowly, slowly. So yeah, and then as we get into the end of the week, you know, Mercury and Mars are getting tighter and tighter into that square. And to me, what that's representing is that there is a greater impulse to take action because of things that we're learning about ourselves. So it's like more knowledge is sinking into us, and it's creating an outward expression, you know, like an outward desire to learn or to declare our knowing. You know, that it's encouraging us to take action, and that action might be that we need to get away, that we actually need to do something with the energy and the information that we've learned, not just have it in our brains and talk about it, but actually use it, you know, in a beautiful way. So yeah, there's all of that going on. But then as we get to the end of the week, you know, what I really notice is also we've had the grand trine coming up all week. And so the grand trine is connecting Mars to Venus, which right now is in the first house, which is absolutely kind of giving us a sort of magnetic allure. You know, it's as if, you know, I call this a facelift energy, you know, whether Venus goes into the first house, it's absolutely where we're feeling a bit more beautiful, a bit more statuesque, where people are more sort of engaged with us. And so there is a sort of glamour. So there's this sort of glamour leading to Saturn down here in Pisces, which I think is helping us get stronger about our passions and to realize what it is we're wanting to create and offer some structure around that. And then Mars is giving us the energy to learn, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, keep diving and delving and getting excited. So I really think this is creating a beautiful, intuitive loop that is rising us up, you know, from how we can feel better in ourselves and flow more with the power of who we are, to how we are stabilizing and normalizing our passions, and also normalizing the energy that we want to sort of reflect out in our life. And also, you know, what that means in terms of what we need to learn. So I really see that that is also pulling into this. And so again, I come back to this annular solar eclipse, and what I'm really seeing is we are coming into our own. We are coming into a time of power, and you know, we are learning about it at a really instinctive level, which is helping us to change, like, the mother of all habits of a lifetime. You know, this is a really big shift in our inner working. So there you go. I hope that was helpful to you. And like I said, you know, the details of the Cazimi and the eclipse are in the notes below. But if I can be of any help, just get in touch. All my details are below. But anyway, I'll catch you in another session real soon, hopefully. Take care and have a good eclipse week. Bye for now. Hey there, Sagittarius. So this is your forecast for the week ahead, starting from Monday, the 30th of September, taking you right the way through to Sunday, the 6th of October. Now, this part of the forecast, I'm really going to be concentrating and focusing on manifestation, because we've got a really big manifestation week ahead. Now, if you are wanting a more sort of day-to-day breakdown of the energies, then I suggest you go to an earlier chapter in this video called Week Ahead Overview. You'll find it through the chapters early on, and it will give you all the different sort of activities to be doing from Monday the 30th right the way through to Sunday the 6th. However, this is about manifestation and how it might affect you as a Sagittarius. So you, whether you've got Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Moon, or Sagittarius Ascendant. So in this forecast, what I'm going to be looking at really are the three big drivers of this as I see them. The first one I want to mention is one that's actually in an exact square between Mars and Mercury on the 6th. However, actually, they're in a square all the way through this week. So Mercury in a square to Mars. Now, Mars is currently in a place where it's bringing up a lot of old baggage, bringing up a lot of feelings in terms of where things are going wrong, where maybe it feels like people around you are being extra sensitive and extra demanding. It almost feels as if the shared life that you have with people, it feels like it's been I don't know, kind of almost on self-destruct a little bit. You know, Mars in this part of the chart can sometimes create an energy of trouble for trouble's sake, you know, almost as if the people around you are kind of digging up the dirt for no good reason, you know, and not really trying to resolve things. So it may feel a little bit like there's a little bit of detritus in your life right now, and an energy that you're quite keen to get rid of and to understand from a different perspective. Now, on the other hand, you know, we've got Mercury here in a place of friendship and support, and really emphasizing where there are collaborators that really do want to collaborate in activities with you, that really want to co-create something with you, that really want to share something with you. So it's really interesting. You've got this dynamic currently going on, that there's someone possibly that you share things with that seems really disgruntled and really irritated, and that seems to be having a negative effect on your life. And then there are people sort of outside of your personal life who appear to be really willing participants in creating something beautiful and maybe creating a vision with you. So it's an interesting little dynamic, first of all. And then the next thing I really want to bring to your attention is that, you know, Mercury's position this week is, he starts this week at 8 degrees in the sign of Libra, and then, you know, passes by the sun and the moon. Now, actually, what's really happening is Mercury is coming into a Cazimi, so an exact conjunction with the sun. This is going to be the 5th Mercury Cazimi this year. There will be one in December when Mercury's retrograde. So this is the last direct Mercury Cazimi of this year. And, when I have recorded a very big Mercury Cazimi video earlier this year that talks about how to discover a Cazimi, how to work it out, get all the calculations and stuff. And just so you know, the timings are all below in the description field with a link to be able to apply that to your own time zone. But essentially on the 30th, Mercury and the sun come into a Cazimi position. They're not exact for a few hours later, then they come to the exact Cazimi, and then it fades out. So there is this window of Cazimi opportunity. And basically when Mercury's in a Cazimi, if you think that Mercury is a messenger, and ordinarily you might ascribe Mercury to your conversations, how you do life in terms of messages back and forth, maybe your business, how you're my voice is going. How funny that when I'm talking about Mercury the messenger and actually talking about talking, that I'm losing my voice. And funny enough, Mercury's in Sagittarius in my birth chart. So that's kind of funny, that we're talking about Sagittarius and Mercury together. Now, Mercury is about all of the sort of information in our life and the comings and goings, the ins and the outs. Now, when Mercury is really highlighted by the sun, I think he becomes his best self. So not necessarily fully rationally, his rational energy, I think, is very much pedestrian and terrestrial. It's really the sort of earthly expression of his energy. But, Mercury is known as being the messenger to the gods. So he's bringing messages back from God, or you could say source, universe, your higher self, your spirit guides, your inner self, your unconscious mind. So he's this facilitator of messages coming into you that are coming from an alternate place and that can really land and be felt by your entire being. So I think this is a very, very strong position. Now, it's just a couple of degrees away and 2 days before the annular solar eclipse. Now, the annular solar eclipse is a new moon, and I'm sure new moons are really good sort of birthing points. It's where everything is cleared away. As we start this week, we're in a waning moon phase. So the moon is getting smaller and smaller. It's a time to let go, be in allowance, let go and release in gratitude and be gentle with ourselves. Then we've got the new moon where there appears to be no moon. It appears that we've got a clean slate. A complete blank sheet to start again from, to sow a seed and grow something new. And then thereafter, the moon is in the waxing phase. Now, what is significant about this is this is an eclipse as well as a new moon. And, if you're in Brazil or Chile, for instance, you're going to see the full, annular solar eclipse. It's going to look magnificent. As the day goes dark suddenly and the sun and the moon disappear and you just get this little ring of light. So it's going to be pretty spectacular. But these eclipses, and this is the last eclipse of 2024, I always think the degree that they land on, and this is 10 degrees in the sign of Libra here, is a significant, I'm going to call it a critical degree that's going to tide us over until the next critical degree of the first eclipse of 2025. So this is a long-lasting seed point, you could say. So I really think in the first 3 days of this week, if you can find the time to put your attention to what you want to create in your world, in your life, then you could actually be creating something very significant that could have the chance to yield something pretty spectacular over the course of 6 months. It could be something that you're creating a momentum of that continues to grow and continues to produce. It's entirely up to you what your idea is about. But from the way this is laid out in relation to the sign of Sagittarius, I would suggest that whatever you're creating has to do with popularity and friendships, networks, really good networks between people where you are co-creating together, creating something rather magnificent, having a sort of global vision, also having a purposeful vision. You know, the 11th house, I think of a place of manifestation. I actually think of it as the law of attraction house, because if you think of the idea of manifestation or the law of attraction, it's very much about collaborating with the source, or recognizing that you might be source energy. So yeah, you might be doing this with friends, but you might be doing this with the universe. You know, this can be quite cosmic. You know, this part of the chart is a chart that I think is absolutely about the sort of brotherhood and sisterhood, the not necessarily the community that you're living in, but the far out community. And by far out, I mean, we can say quite cosmic as well. So there is a real sort of possibility for something really extraordinary here. The 11th house, or the, you know, where Libra is in relationship to your Sagittariusness, is also associated, I think, with things like the internet and all the connectivity, but also the idea of sort of global telepathy, or the Akashic records you could even consider as a non-physical internet. And obviously the internet isn't physical either. You know, I know it's all around me, but I can't see it. But I'm using it to communicate with you right now. So that's pretty great, right? So yeah, there is this opportunity to solve something that you would like to work with, that could have far-reaching effects. It could reach out all over the world. It could connect you to people all over the world. And yeah, and it's something that you could be working on continuously for 6 months. I mean, I share in the first part of this video about how I once used an annular solar eclipse to bring about the energy of me wanting to buy a home. And how at the time of the annular solar eclipse, I really focused my energies and kind of wrote them down and enjoyed the moment, and was really sort of resolute. I really felt this was coming in, and I like let my sort of intentions go in what felt like a right way, a fitting way at the time. And then interestingly, there were 3 next steps to me actually moving into my home, and they all occurred on the following 3 new moons. So I think it's entirely possible to set up a kind of new moon track, if that makes sense. I don't know if other astrologers talk about it, because I don't really listen to other people necessarily. I don't want to be swayed from whatever is coming through me or working with me, and you know, how I get inspired by the things I'm learning and things I'm seeing. So I try not to influence myself, but I really do believe that it's possible to set yourself on a new moon track. And so this could really get you into it. So I wonder what is around 8 to 10 degrees in your birth chart. You know, do you have an angle there or a planet there? But anyway, in spite of that, I think if on the 30th you use a Cazimi to focus in on how you want to use that energy, maybe ask yourself some far-reaching questions, such as, you know, how can I maximize my manifestation potential? How can I solve this problem through right thinking? All sorts of things like that. Now, in between the two, you've got Tuesday the 1st, which is quite a calm day, but also really quite beneficial. The moon is in a trine to Uranus, and also a trine to Pluto, which I think is giving us a lovely sort of internal structure of support, in particular with the energies of manifestation. Uranus is a very sort of I think clear manifester, and also Pluto is really quite strong in receiving. You know, Pluto is very happy to take control of things. So I really think, you know, the sort of calm but strong patterns on Tuesday the 1st is also adding into this. And then on the day of Wednesday the 2nd, it is the new moon, it is the eclipse. It's a time to be mindful of the energy that you're being and the energy that you are wanting to persistently create in your life, so that you can release that. Now, I will be releasing a video just before the actual eclipse that will include a breakdown of the particular asteroids. We're also focusing in on this. But earlier in this video, I also talk about the Sabian symbols between the Cazimi right the way through to the eclipse, which might also give you some other clues. Now, other things that are going on this week, you know, well, actually, as this week progresses, you know, after the new moon, we come into the waxing phase. And so it's that time to embed the idea of where we're going, and to leave it alone, actually, not to dig it up to see if it's getting roots, but to leave it to do its thing, to trust in the process. And this is where I think the Mercury and Mars square can really start to come in, because, you know, on the one hand, there's action that you might want to take, and on the other hand, there's the communication. And, you know, Mercury, I think, around this time is pretty cosmic and not acting in the usual way that Mercury does. You know, Mercury is a lot more receptive to intuition and to gentleness and to little hunches. You know, that may well lead you to take action, you know, and that might be where the tension comes in. So you may well find that you're getting these little nudges from the universe, or however you receive nudges, little bits of cosmic intel, but then you get this kind of push to make a difference. And right now, Mars is really trying to work in this area of transformation. Like I said at the start, you know, you may have found that someone around you has been a bit edgy, a bit surly, kind of digging into the poo, like really trying to stir up a proverbial sort of hornet's nest. It almost feels like there's something like that going on. And so you may well get the necessary insight to be able to take action, or to make a change, or to walk, or just turn around, or leave that particular situation for a certain period of time. So I think it's giving you all the clues that you need to be able to move forwards. Now, I'd like to pay a little bit of attention to Jupiter, who's your ruling planet. You know, Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, and he is emphasizing everything to do with your relationships, and also how your relationships could feel, I think, a little bit more magical, a little bit more special, given that there is this lovely new moon stroke annular solar eclipse not a million miles away from, you know, it's not quite in a trine, but it's in a fellow air sign. I really think that your relationships can come on. So even though Mars is in this slightly difficult place, I think what's really going on is there is an ending of a situation. Maybe you're already in a relationship, and mostly things are good, and every now and again there's a stalemate that comes up, or a very sort of difficult sort of tense moment that you can't quite get rid of. But one thing I really do want to emphasize about this is Mars isn't just in this square to Mercury. Mars is also in a long-term trine over, you know, the next week and a half. And he's already been in a trine to Saturn. But he's been flanked here beautifully in this grand trine by Venus in Scorpio and Saturn in Pisces. You know, Saturn in Pisces is saying the clearer you get at home to get through some of the stiffness and difficulties and the feeling that there's a bit too much going on. You know, when Saturn comes here, we can often feel overwhelmed, very tired, and chores around the house can really mount up. And so, like, one of the keys here is to just get clearer at home, in whatever way you can, and anything you can't get clear about, choose to be at peace with it, you know, rather than looking around and thinking, oh, I'm actually looking around at some of the mess I've created for myself. And then Venus in the 12th, you know, I think is saying loving kindness in action, and forgiveness is absolutely needed to be able to resolve this. So the more you're in a place of active self-forgiveness, and also creating a positive space for yourself at home, the more you're able to cope with whatever is going on right now with Mars. So there you go, Sagittarius. I hope that's a few pointers for this week ahead. Like I said, there's a sort of day-by-day overview in the first part of this video, but hopefully this will be helpful in navigating this annular solar eclipse and making the most of it. Have a great eclipse week, and catch you next time. Bye for now. So Capricorn, this is a forecast taking you from Monday the 30th of September and taking you right the way through to Sunday the 6th. Now, I'm going to be focusing not so much on the day-to-day in this forecast, but on an overall look at manifestation in this week ahead, because there are some really good, I think, indicators of manifestation in this particular week. However, earlier on in this video, in the chapter heading Week Ahead Overview, you'll find that I have recorded a day-by-day breakdown. So you'll find, you know, like what's going on Monday the 30th right the way through every day until you get to Sunday the 6th. So please do check that out if you think that will be helpful for you. But anyway, here's what I want to talk about. So the really big factors I see playing into the manifestation for this week is the Mercury square Mars that's going on. Now, it's exact on the 6th, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's just on the 6th. It's actually an energy that's going on throughout this whole week. And, you know, it's interesting that we're highlighting Mercury because Mercury is also going into the 5th Cazimi of this year. Not any Cazimi, this is the 5th Mercury Cazimi. And so what's happening is Mercury is actually in an exact conjunction with the sun, and there are like the, you know, when there is the moment when Mercury goes into a Cazimi position, then there's the exact moment of it, and then the moment when Mercury leaves it. They're calculated astronomically, and I can actually, if you want to know the exact times, you can find them in the description field below, so you can work it out for your time zone. But during these, excuse me, during these parameters for Mercury Cazimi, what you should find is that there is an openness for some kind of miraculous Mercury style intel or knowledge to come through. So, you know, Mercury, when he's highlighted by the sun, I think he is less rational in the sort of usual Mercury way, you know, where he's looking at facts and science or anything that appears like hard and fast detail. And he's definitely less fastidious than he was just last week when he was in the sign of Virgo. But he's coming into a place, I think, where he becomes the true messenger, the messenger from the humans to gods. So you might also consider he might be bringing you a message from your unconscious mind, your spirit guides, the universe source, whatever you want to call it, God, Jesus, and it could just be an animal, you know, if you follow, shamanism or something, if you follow power animals and things, you know, the messages can come via Mercury in a multitude of ways. So the 30th is a very special day for us working things out. Now, isn't it interesting that where that's happening is just 2 degrees away from the annular solar eclipse? Again, it's another Cazimi, actually, because the moon and the sun are exactly in the same place. And so the sun is absolutely sort of almost elevating the moon or elevating the purpose of the moon. And the purpose of the moon at the time of the new moon, I think, is to create a clean slate. It's to wipe everything, all the residues of the previous lunar cycle away so that we can start to grow something beautiful and new. Now, you can see that here. You know, we start the week in a waning phase where the moon is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Then we've got the new moon phase at the time of the solar eclipse. And then thereafter, the moon comes out the other side and it appears to be growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So there is this sort of energy in this week ahead of releasing, letting go, being in a sort of generous and contented and peaceful and possibly a bit reserved mindset. Then this a moment of stillness, and then it's like, aha, I know how to move forwards. And then it's step by step by step as we're stepping into our new situations. So I really like this kind of energy. And so the first part of it, I really see, I mean, this is such a tight area of energy here. And I wonder if you've got any planets or angles here in your particular chart. Maybe something is square from Capricorn. But this is highlighting the part of your chart absolutely about your career, your standing in the world. Excuse me. Sorry about gulping then. How you are adulting. How are you, what are you bringing forwards? What's your output? Are you recognized for what you do? What's your reputation like? Is this area of the bigger you, the grown-up you, the one that stands out, that's left the home, left the comfort, left the security, and is out there making a life for themselves? And so this is a particularly strong new seed point, a new moon, a new, like, turning over the page to create something new for yourself. So, if I was in your shoes, Capricorn, I would most likely spend the 30th really thinking long and hard about my career, what's working, what's not working. I should also say Mercury's also in, and also the annular solar eclipse is also associated with the South Node. So we really get a sense of where we've been and, Mercury, the sun, and the moon are all going to continue moving this way, and the south node is moving this way. So we are moving away from the past. We are cutting away. So I really see that what's going on in terms of your career and your outward focus is a new birthing, unlike anything that you've experienced before. This is new. So how can you be reinventing yourself? And Mercury is going to help you here. The 1st is quite good. Tuesday the 1st, there's some great energies, which I think you'll appreciate, given that we've got Pluto currently in your own sign. So the moon will make a trine to Pluto in your 1st, giving you some real sort of transformative ideas about how your identity is changing. And also it's connecting to Uranus, in a strong trine, really encouraging you to be as inventive as possible. So there's a lot of ideas here. Now, as the week progresses, the square between Mercury and Mars, I think, gets stronger. And this is the interesting thing, when we're talking about manifestation and the realms of possibility and clearing the past to step into the future that you're wanting. Mercury is wanting to talk about this, and yet there's something possibly related to your partners and relationships that is feeling a little bit exposed, a little bit grumpy, a little bit I'd like to say assertive, but it could be a little bit irritated, possibly even a bit aggressive. Almost feels like the people around you are maybe going into quite a selfish phase. And it feels like maybe you don't have the support to do this. So you might also want to write into your goals, or envisage how you can achieve your goals, how you can be the best you can be. Write something into it to support yourself, in terms of, I can always find the support I need to create XYZ. I am in control of my creations. I am the source of my creations. I am responsible for what I'm creating in the world. And if you do want support, talk about the people in your life in a supportive way, and everything you can do to kind of mitigate this. As the week progresses, I think you're going to get a lot of insight from Mercury, and the sun and the moon are going to be moving beyond the south node. I think new possibilities will pop into your mind. And, like the whole idea of this particular eclipse in the sign of Libra is also to bring about a better sense of harmony and balance. So don't be surprised to get some almost miraculous energy, sort of energetic ideas come in that will help you resolve some of this sort of fractiousness that's going on, and maybe separation. Be on the lookout for that. One last thing I want to sort of point out is, your ruling planet Saturn is currently in the sign of Pisces. It's been there for 18 months, but Saturn's in a great position in this week ahead. Funnily enough, I had a snarky old comment from somebody last week, because I was talking about how Saturn can be quite useful, and obviously this person just had this view of Saturn, that Saturn is just about disaster and limitations and this, that, and the other. And somebody was like saying something to the effect of, "You're wrong. Saturn only brings, X, Y, and Z." But I really want to emphasize this. Saturn is actually working towards us right now, and Saturn is essentially an energy of responsibility, and an energy of structure, and an energy that can create bondedness. Now, I don't mean like loving bonds necessarily in that kind of Venus sweetheart way, but Saturn does help to create agreements and contracts and legislation, that kind of bondedness, where you might get tied into rules and regulations and ideas. Now, on the surface, that might sound a bit horrific, but it can also be very useful. And so, Saturn is working not in a stressful aspect to Mars. And trust me, when Saturn is in a conjunction with Mars, or in a square or opposition with Mars, I wouldn't be talking quite so positively about Saturn. Most likely I would be cautioning you to just pay extra attention. But he's also in a trine with Venus. And so there's this beautiful sort of sense of balance between the masculine and the feminine. Venus is here really supporting the idea of friendships and networks, possibly business networks in your life, and how there are people that want to collaborate with you. And then here, Mars is more referring to the personal people in your life, like your partner, maybe the family around you, the people that are very, very close to you, and how they just seem a little bit irritated. And then Saturn down here is really standing strong in your community, really showing you actually that probably what you do want to do at the moment is work out how to contribute in your community in a way that maybe helps to create respect, and maybe create some structures. But he's not trying to ruin you. He's there to bring up a sense of balance. Now, all three of these are water signs that this grand trine is in. So there's a flow of emotion and also intuition. And these houses are also very much about people and the energies of others in our life. So, whatever is going on here with Mars, I also see, yes, there might be the irritation with Mercury, and, you might be getting intel and then feeling like you want to take action. But please know that there are some supports around to help Mars. If you do have people around you who are feeling stressed out, you might have a bit of success by getting support from the people outside of your immediate life. Maybe they've got some ideas. Maybe there's something you can bring your family to. There are always these different options. So just be aware that anything to do with other people right now is changing, is flowing, is evolving. And if one part of your relationships isn't quite working, the other parts are there to show you maybe how you need to tweak, the bit that isn't quite there yet, So I hope that's helpful to Capricorn. Have a great week ahead. I really look forward to hearing, all the amazing things that you're going to be manifesting. It's such a strong place for you. And one that really suits you. This is very much about the sort of Capricorn things that you're interested in, like status and rising up and being seen for the contributions that you make in the world. So, good luck with that. Have a great one and catch you very soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Aquarius. So in this forecast, I'm looking at the energy from Monday, the 30th of September, right the way through to Sunday, the 6th of October. Now, I'm not doing a day-by-day one like I often do. However, if you want the sort of daily breakdown, including what you might choose to do on each day, how you might want to use that energy, I do recommend that you check out the earlier chapter in this video called Week Ahead Overview. So all of that is encompassed there. In this actual forecast for you, I really want to focus on the energy of manifestation and bringing about the things that you would dearly love to experience in your life. Because from my perspective, this is a very sort of strong manifestation week. And there's some really kind of big clues about manifestation. The most notable one is the fact that we're about to have the last eclipse of the year, and it's an annular solar eclipse, which means the sun and the moon are coming together. Essentially, it's a new moon. And it's a new moon that's moving slowly away from the South Node. So the South Node is representing the past and past situations. And so this is a new moon that is taking us away from the past and moving us into the future. It's a new moon. It's a new start, an eclipse new start. So it's much, much stronger. It has a lot more power than the usual new moons. In fact, the next eclipse isn't until March 2025. So this is absolutely, I think, giving you the opportunity to seed a particular, I'm going to call it an astrological track that is aligned to the new moon energy. So you may well find, as I found in the past, and I talk about this in the first part of the video, but I found myself on a new moon eclipsed track where my life was incrementally every new moon. The next piece of my puzzle was landing with absolute regularity and helping me manifest what it was that I was desiring around the time of the eclipse. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are about manifestation and how it works, etc., etc. But I do think the energy of focusing and getting clearer about our lives, what's working, what's not working, is also very useful. You know, as we start this week, we're in a waning moon phase, which means the moon is getting smaller. It's a time when we are letting go, releasing, being in allowance, being gentle with ourselves, maybe being a little bit more reflective and maybe resting a little bit more. I think that's an absolute great thing to do. And then the new moon is this kind of moment of stillness. And, you know, if you're in Chile or Argentina, hopefully you'll get to see this amazing new moon and eclipse, the annular solar eclipse, where it's all going to, you know, the sky's going to go dark and then you're going to see this ring. So it should be really quite exciting. And then after, you know, from later on Wednesday, right the way through to the rest of the week, the moon is starting to grow again. And so it's us stepping into our future, step by step. It's like a nice gentle growth. So yeah, there is the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a new one, and possibly one that's going to last us until March of next year. So it's worth paying some attention to. Moreover, the part of your chart that is absolutely being lit up with this energy is all about adventure, all about context, all about learning, evolving, awakening. It's got so much depth and richness to it. It can be political, it can be religious, it can be very spiritual. There's a lot there. Law can come into it as well. But, you know, and also, like, if you're a writer or a broadcaster, anyone who is developing ideas to share widely, especially, you know, with depth, that's absolutely also favored. So if any of those themes relate to you, then this is absolutely the annular solar eclipse new moon for you. And it's also in a fellow air sign, so you have a natural resonance to it. And hopefully, now I don't know if you're watching this because your sun in Aquarius, your ascendant in Aquarius, or your moon in Aquarius. However, there's a good chance that this particular eclipse is going to be aligning with, you know, your personal Aquarian energy. So yeah, this is really for you. Now, the bits that really fascinate me, that I'd like to talk through. First of all, we've got this Mercury square Mars that's going on all week, but it's exact on the 6th. So it's a square. It's getting harder and harder and harder, meaning there's some tension between your thoughts and what you're saying and the action that you're taking. So there's not much congruence between what you're thinking and doing. It feels like there's a conflict there. There's a bit of separation. Now, you know, that's not necessarily tragic. But what I would say is, given that this is possibly a really strong manifestation week, you know, you'll be getting insight, intel, little cosmic clues to work through. And so it's no good keeping it in your head. You know, I think sort of the best way to be in the vibration of where you're going, where you're desiring to go, is to actually take aligned action. So it is necessary to connect your thoughts and your actions as the week progresses, so that you are taking the right action to bring about what it is that you desire. So that's something to pay attention to. But leading up to it, we've got this Mercury Cazimi at 8 degrees Libra. So there's a very tight pocket of Libran energy here that's super duper strong. Now, the Cazimi, I have recorded more about all of the Cazimis for this year back in, I think, February. You can check that video out. I'm not going to talk about, you know, what creates a Cazimi here necessarily. All I need to let you know is the Cazimi starts to come in at a particular point, then it's exact, and then it starts to leave. And so we've got a window of opportunity, and I've put the details in the description field below so that you can either see what time zone it's in. I'll put it into a few different time zones, or there's a link so you can work out what times it's coming in and what times it's ending. It's important, if you're going to use it to kind of create and enhance your brain activity, that you do it within those times. Now, the Cazimi itself, you know, if you think about Mercury, often people are talking in terms of travel, emails, letters, communications, and things like that. But, you know, that's a very, I think, terrestrial version of Mercury. And I really favor looking at his spiritual side. You know, Mercury is also known as being a messenger between the gods, and also the underworld, and also the humans. And so he's able to go into lots of different places. And so what I really see with this is the Cazimi is illuminating the opportunity for us to tune in at a much deeper level. I mean, that's a pretty good, a good opportunity, isn't it? To, I don't know, boost your intuition, boost your psychic awareness. I think that's quite useful. So you may well receive something from a guide or a vision. It could be an animal messenger that's coming by and just kind of letting you know that life is watching, life is working with you. You know, there are messages all around. And on the 30th, it's a time to maybe think what you would like to create for yourself that could create a greater opening for joy, independence, adventure, for a bigger vision, for a more in-depth knowledge of spirituality, religion, philosophy, you know, whatever it is that you're wanting to use this energy for. But also, you know, again, like if you are a writer or a creator of, or curator even of deepening thoughts, then this is absolutely the stage to create something really new for yourself. And so whatever is coming up on the 30th, you could use that to focus you to create something truly worthwhile for the second. You know, I don't see this as, oh yeah, I just need more money. You know, this is a chance to almost like redesign your life. That's how I see it. Now, the date in between, the 1st, which is Tuesday, I see that as being a calm and meditative day where you can make some big emotional leaps. You know, there's this lovely trine between the moon and Pluto in your 12th house. So you really are delving deep into your psyche, and also a trine to Uranus, which is one of your ruling planets. You know, to me, this is very, very helpful. And then obviously we've got the annular solar eclipse, which is a moment to stand still and absolutely get into the energy, step into the energy of what it is you want to bring forward in your life with some passion. And like I said, as the week goes on, the square gets stronger. It's important that you listen to the messages coming in and take action on them. Now, the action that's coming up, you know, Mars is currently in this part of your chart to do with the balance that's going on in your life. And you might find that things are a little bit too busy. Things are quite out of balance. You might have lots of energy for one aspect of your life, but not another. You know, that part of your life where Mars is sort of aspecting right now is bringing to mind things like getting your health, your diet, your home, your money. It's like getting every aspect of your life lined up and sorted out and worked through. And of course, that's a massive task for most people. You know, I'm full of awe of anyone that can have their life completely planned out with a strong routine. I mean, good for you. So yeah, there's this very sort of strong and strident need, possibly a need that's coming up from a place of fear that things are going to get out of control and you wanting to feel powerful in your life. So whatever clues are coming up here, really do pay attention to them. You know, they could really, really help you to make some strides forwards. Couple of extra things. You know, you've got 2 ruling planets, according to whether you're a classical astrologer, traditional, or a modern day. If you are more favoring Saturn, then Saturn is actually very helpful in this week ahead, connecting to Venus in Scorpio and also Mars in Cancer. There's this free, like this, I think this is quite a liberating and stabilizing grand trine in the water signs. It's bringing a bit of constancy, I think, and balance and maturity to your emotions. So that is really, really helpful, especially if you're wanting to create something really quite far out for yourself, to know that you've got the emotional wherewithal to be able to cope with that. And then Uranus, you know, Uranus is, I think, really wanting to create something new at home. You know, it's been in your sign of sort of stability for a long, long time, really stirring things up most likely and making you feel a little bit restless for a bit of an adventure. So you may well find that, you know, the energy of Uranus and also the sort of opening of a new adventure is stirring you out of the traditional feeling of stability that you might associate with home. And given that Mars is also regulating how you're organizing your life right now, there's probably a lot of frustration because you're trying to organize your life whilst also feeling quite dissatisfied and restless in your life. Maybe the big discovery is actually that you're not meant to be stable right now. In fact, you might actually realize that you feel more stable when you have, massive vistas to look at. Have you ever sort of noticed how you might feel more available when you're more remote? When you're on an adventure, you actually feel home. So you're miles away from home, but you actually feel more at home in your body. So I think, this week is a really strong week for emphasizing maybe the inconsistencies in what you believe is going on and actually what is going on. So I hope that's helpful for your Aquarius. Have a fantastic week ahead. Don't forget, if you want the day by day layout, then please do go to the week ahead overview. But yeah, have a stunning week ahead, and hopefully we'll catch up with you real soon. Bye for now. Hey there, Pisces. So this is a beautiful week, I think. And, for somebody who's a dreamer and somebody who has such an open heart, I really, really hope that this forecast lands beautifully for you. So if you're wanting the day by day forecast, then I suggest you check out one of my earlier chapters in this whole video called Week Ahead Overview, where I've laid out, what's happening on a planetary basis and what kind of activities you might want to do. But for this forecast with you right now, and I don't know if you're watching me because you're a Pisces sun, because you've got Pisces moon, or maybe you've got Pisces ascendant, but what I really want is to talk to that dreamer in you, because this is a week of manifestation as far as I can see. And why is that? Well, there's a few things that absolutely catch my eye that I'm talking about with everyone here, but I really want to bring it to your attention here. So the first thing is that we've got a couple of things going on between the degrees of 8 and 10 degrees Libra. It's creating a very strong energetic pocket. Now, I think wherever we get a solar eclipse, and this is the last eclipse of 2024 that we're going to have, and it's the eclipse that's taking us right the way through to the next eclipse in 2025. I think the last degree of the eclipse is one of the most critical degrees that we experience until the next one comes in. So this degree is going to be important, and it's interesting. If you know how to read your birth chart, it'd be really interesting for you to see if you've got a planet or an angle or a node around the degrees of 8 to 10 degrees of Libra. Now, I talk about those in terms of the Sabian symbol messages in the earlier part of this video. So if you do want to know that, check that out. But yeah, this is highlighting a part of your chart that is associated with secrets, deep knowledge, but also where you might be caught up in inner psychology, in particular things like resentments, bitterness, a kind of stuckness, possibly a shame, a guilt, an embarrassment. So really what I get with this is that there's some kind of value judgment that you might have about yourself in relationship to how somebody else is perceiving your behavior or putting expectations on you. So one of the big messages here is, what is it that you're feeling, and is it actually your feeling? Does it belong to you? Who does this belong to? So this particular annular solar eclipse and Mercury Cazimi, that's happening a couple of days before, I think is opening up some of these unmentionable areas that have actually got you stuck in a bind for quite some time, so that you can find a beautiful release and get that sense of peace and clearing in your psychology, which will absolutely boost you up. This part of the chart is associated with secrets, like I said, but it's also about rites of passage, moving from one moment in time to another. It's the recognition that you're no longer between worlds. You have to step out of one and step into the other. And if there's any fear about moving forwards, it's going to hold you back. So this is a moment in time where you might choose to recognize that where you've been is now a time of the past. And actually, the next step for you is to consciously step into the future. Now, both of these, so Mercury Cazimi, the annular solar eclipse, which is the sun and the moon, are moving in this direction, and the south node is moving in this direction. So there's also the metaphorical like separation of the past. And it's not because you're cutting away, it's just the past is moving one way and you're moving the other. Now, of course, I'm not entirely sure if I believe in time, the time-space continuum, just to be completely clear. I don't want to be talking about time as if it actually exists. It might not exist, but in our realm, in the sort of day-to-day living that we are living our lives in, it appears to be true. So that's why I'm saying it. But it appears that it's time for you to move on, and it's time for you to step boldly forwards and to follow what is coming up as a beautiful clearing for you. You're clearing a space for yourself. And that's all what the new moon is about. So, as we're coming into this week, we're first of all, from the 30th until the 2nd, in a waning phase. The moon is getting smaller and smaller, and it's a time when our intuition, our need to go inward, our need to release and allow and be gentle with ourselves and restful and possibly a little bit reserved and kittenish, like we just want to curl up and have a duvet day and just take it really slow. So I see slow reflection in the first part of the week, and a time to absolutely employ self-forgiveness and gentleness and use that so beautifully. And then we've got the stillness of the new moon on the 2nd, where everything appears to stand still. And we're not going to see it. I'm not going to see it in mainland Europe, but if you're in Argentina or Chile, you'll see the amazing annular solar eclipse, as not only does the moon sort of disappear, as always happens with a new moon, but the sun appears to disappear. And so it's like the whole slate of your situation is wiped clean, it's swept clean. You get a clean sheet. This is possibly a really, really good new start for you that is going to send you on a gradual track. And, I think when we align with these eclipses, that the next new moon and the following new moon and the following one, they are like stepping stones. In the first part of this video, I briefly, or maybe sort of not very succinctly, described a situation where I manifested myself a home, or I put into place a plan of action at the time of the solar eclipse. And the next 3 months, exactly on the days of the new moon, came the next big steps of finding the home, getting a mortgage, moving in to the home on the 3rd month. So it is possible to tie in your sense of timing with the moon phases. So I think this is really special, and this is going to shift you on in a way that you've needed to, whilst also clearing the ground and clearing any of the psychology that has kept you in the past. So I don't know what age you are. You could be young, you might be coming into menopause, you might be becoming a mom or a dad, you might be getting your first job, you might be facing separation. There's all sorts of different things that happen to us, and they are in some respects a rite of passage. We all come in with the possibility, the possibility of experiencing pain, but also the opportunity of experiencing joy. And sometimes, to find that joy, we have to shift what is not making us happy and step away from it. So this is a really big time. Now, the Mercury square Mars, Mars is really about your ability to, I think, create joy for yourself and create passion for yourself. Mars here is really drawing in this possibility that you can create. You are a creative person, and so you might have been feeling actually that you're not getting enough time to create. You're like frustrated, wanting to create. You don't want to put things down. You don't want to waste time. And then when you don't achieve the things you're wanting to achieve, you may well find that you're getting angry or casting judgment or blame over yourself. And so Mercury here, he's a messenger. He's a messenger between humans and gods and the different realms. So you could be getting information from all sorts of levels and places. So Mercury is going to be giving you sort of intel and advice, and I think some compassion to help you let go of some of this frustration, but also to give you some clues as to where you might want to put your energies and attention. So it could be useful, but with everything we're manifesting, it's also important to take action. So you might find that as the week goes on and as we go into the waxing phase and it's time to step beyond our situation, that all of a sudden these ideas come in our minds of what we need to take action on. Now, I realize my dot for Gemini, for Jupiter and Gemini, I've put it in the wrong place. It should be here. So one of your ruling planets is Jupiter, and the other is Neptune, which is in Pisces. So I want to touch on Neptune because Neptune was implicated in the last eclipse, and the last eclipse, was happening across here. And I really see that it was about dissolving your identity and softening your ideas of where you were going, and what was really important for you. And so I really think that Neptune in your first is still standing for the idea of the liberation of your personality. In many respects, your personality has brought you to exactly where you are right now. All of our personalities, I think, are questing in some way, taking us out of our center. Like our personalities are a little bit like our masks. And we might have many different personalities or masks to use with different people in different situations. And yet, we get so used to putting these masks on that we actually forget who we really are. And so, Neptune has been dissolving this for you, since the last eclipse on the 18th of September. And so you might choose to ask yourself, well, okay, like, who am I if I take this mask off? And your mask might be people pleasing. It could be keeping everyone happy. It could be actually not wanting to declare what you think or feel because it might not feel safe. Your mask might be any number of things. But who are you really underneath? And how can you let that side of you out? And how can that align with your new goals of future directions? That's my big question to you. So the final bit then is Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter's at home. He is showing you that the family and the home should still be a place of warmth and optimism, and it's a place where you can grow things. So whatever you're thinking in terms of your next new move, don't think about moving away from home just yet. Stick with the Jupiter energy for now, because it's really wanting you to rest at home and also feel well at home. Allow yourself the rest, the recuperation, the coming back into yourself, and notice how when you're happy at home, more fun things are happening. It brings in more people, more energies, more ideas to your home. So don't forget that. Jupiter is in a long-term square, and you do have Saturn going through your first at the moment, and again, that's really showing that it's getting tight in that personality of yours. And so the sooner you can sort of disidentify it, to me it just feels like you've gone down a particular path, and you may now be realizing that where you've been heading is not going to work for you, and you just need to tweak your destination somewhat, and then you'll be back on that path to peace again. Things will start to make sense. So I hope that's helpful to you, Pisces. Like I said, in the first part, just you'll get the day-by-day forecast in the week ahead overview. But yeah, have a fantastic week ahead. If I can be of any help, get in touch. But please do be your magical self. This is a really good opportunity for you to absolutely kiss goodbye to something that has held you back and held you in chains for quite some time. So there you go. Lots of love. I'm always quite surprised at where these readings go, because I'm never entirely sure. And I always actually write the title for my video after I've recorded it, because I follow the sort of energies, as I'm looking at my little templates. I get a sense of what I need to talk about and see where it goes. And I'm always surprised. And so that Pisces one kind of sort of, took me away a little bit. I really didn't see that coming. It's put me in a really mystical mood now. So anyway, I hope that was helpful in the different ways that it's shown up. These are great times to create something new in the world. Be aware as well that, like where we're putting our attention collectively right now is also creating a future. So, whilst you're also attending to yourself, be mindful of what what energy you're putting out in the world about how you think the world is. If you listen to the news, and me saying every week, watch the news. Don't fall for the news so much. If you listen to the news, you could think that the world is an absolute terrible place. And yet the more I interact with people on a weekly and daily and monthly, whatever, the more I interact with people and get into the real world, I realize that humans are actually pretty cool. They are full of love, full of spirit. Mostly we want the same things. And, there are lots of people who are also hurting, and some people hurt each other, which, I don't endorse, not by a long shot. However, I do see that most people are really, really nice. And so please watch your energies. Whilst you're creating for yourself, be mindful that, it feels like there is a bit of a manifestation frenzy right now, where everyone, like from news agencies, are trying to catch your attention and sow seeds of discontent. Well, I think it's time for us to sow seeds of content, sow seeds of possibility, and sow seeds of get out of our manifestation with your disaster and doom and gloom, because I'm standing for something much bigger. So that's my thought anyway. So have a great week ahead, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now. Lots of love.